9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And 1.
Welcome to the Joint City Council, Housing Authority, and GVMID meeting of the Brisbane City Council, May 7th, 2026. We're calling this meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No council members are attending the meeting remotely tonight, so City Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Kern.
Here.
Councilmember Lentz.
Here.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Here.
And Mayor Mackin.
Here. Thank you. City Attorney Zutler, could we please have a report out from closed sessions April 20, April 27, May 4th, and May 7th, please?
Sure. Good evening. Closed session was had on the items on the agenda and no reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you. Before we adopt the agenda, I would just like to call attention to the fact that this is Municipal Clerks Week, and we have very humble municipal clerks in Brisbane. They didn't even bother to put it in our agenda. So I would like to call attention to our city clerk, Ingrid Padilla, and also Deputy Clerk Angel Ibarra for all the work that they do. They do so much behind the scenes you would not believe. They keep things on schedule and running smoothly, and you would never believe the chaos that goes on the week before these meetings. And they make it look very simple, and look at how calm she looks. Oh, and also, our city attorney, I would like to recognize, is Samantha Zutler. And if you would please just take a stand here so they know who you are. We're very pleased to have Sam on board. She goes by the name Sam, so I'm allowed to call her that. All right. Can I get a first and second to adopt the agenda as it stands, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. First item on our agenda tonight, I can see from the audience.
Yeah.
We have the Youth Advisory Committee here, and I'm told we're going to have a presentation. This is your annual presentation we've been looking forward to. So you're on.
Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys have enjoyed your day so far, and thank you guys so much for having us. I'm Avni Rajan. I'm the current vice president on YAC, and this is my 4th or 5th year being here. So I just wanted to start talking about the LIT program. So the LIT program is our summer program, and we've had about 40 to 50 participants in the last couple years. But our summer program for the upcoming summer of 2026 is currently closed. However, if you have any questions or comments, you can always talk to Jeff because he manages everything. So a lot of us here on YAC have been a part of this LIT program, and we've made so many fun memories from it. It's especially fun because a lot of us were campers at this camp, and we got to grow up with these people, and then you get to have fun with the next generation, and you get to play games with them and give them the same memories that you had.
Next slide.
One more, please. Hello, everyone. My name is Sebastian Bousquet. I'm in my 5th year serving on the YAC, and I'm in my 2nd year as the president. Next slide, please. This year we have 24 members ranging from 7th grade to 12th grade. And at the beginning of the year, we got together and we discussed an initiative that we wanted to govern our decision-making and our programming over the year, and we settled on bringing diverse communities together. So as you listen to our presentation, we hope that you can see our initiative interwoven through all our events. And this year we structured the YAC a little bit differently. We also had a teen action club. This was designed for youth in Brisbane that maybe wanted to participate in, little bit of local government or wanted to volunteer or wanted to make a difference in their community, but maybe due to a time commitment, they couldn't commit to the YAC, or due to the high number of applications we received this year, did not make the first round of cuts. So I will bring up Kailea, and she will talk a little bit about her experience on TAC and how she made it up to YAC.
Sorry, can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Hi, my name is Kailea, and I'm in 7th grade, and I was originally in TAC, and then I transitioned into YAC earlier this year. At first, because YAC had so many applicants, I wasn't accepted, which was a little bit of a letdown, but I kept applying myself, and I was committed, and I kept going to all these different events, to the teen nights, always asked if I was able to help with anything, if I could do anything further in my position. And so when a position in YAC opened up, I gladly took this spot, and I was so happy to be here, and now I am, and I'm ready to move forward, and hopefully I can help with more things later and in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marissa, and I'm in 8th grade.
Hi, my name is Noelle Cha, and I'm also in 8th grade, and we would like to talk a little bit about our middle school dances.
Here are some pictures from the 2 dances we've had so far this year. As you can see, on the left was our Halloween dance, and on the right is a Candyland dance. Middle schoolers seem to really enjoy these dances and the themes and dressing up according to them, and you can see that especially on the Halloween dance.
We welcome friends from all middle schools, and our dances offer amenities such as photo booths, guest-suggested music, and sweets and treats for all to enjoy. These things have made our dances pretty popular, as about 90 to 100 people attend each dance. Personally, Marissa, our friends, and I really like the photo booth and creating memories together on the dance floor.
YAC offers a great bonding experience for the community and teens to connect with one another, and it also acts as a way for people to really see their classmates outside of the school setting and to let loose.
As we continue to run these dances, we hope to take guests and your input to make our dances even better and increase diverse community engagement.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Micah McNally. Hello, my name is Ava Larson. And one thing the Youth Advisory Committee does is help with the Derby. We arrive early on day in the park, and we set up the hay bales for the barriers used in the race. And during the race, we wave the flags.
A new thing that we introduced at the last day in the park was the grandstand. The grandstand interviewed people of different ages to connect generations. It was very successful, and it will be returning.
Every year, Brisbane announces a Youth Volunteer Award, and this year our YAC president, Sebastian Bousquet, won. So congratulations to him.
Day in the Park was very successful and an overall good time that all ages enjoyed. YAC looks forward to helping in years to come. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lucas. I'm in 8th grade, and for this past Halloween, we helped close and make sure streets were closed during trick-or-treating hours.
Mac and cheese.
Before Halloween, we had our 3rd annual Halloween dog costume contest. This year, we had a keychain photo booth by Linked Memories and a grand prize donation from Cane's Chicken. We had lots of cool submissions, such as a Star Wars dog family, a military dog, and a cool basketball dog. Councilmember Kern's family won the most creative costume with their homemade Kraft mac and cheese costume.
Of course.
We also had some whipped cream pup cups for the dogs and candy for the kids.
Hi, I'm Raina. I'm a freshman in high school. This year we had another successful Festival of Lights, and we introduced something new, which was the Wish Tree. This is where we had people
write their wishes on wooden stars and we would hang them up on a tree. This was also a memorial tribute to Joe Rydell, so we also had people write what they missed about him.
Hi, my name is Aaron, and I'm an 8th grader. So, another Yak member, Thomas, me and him were the two trees in the top right. We tried to add like some festivity to the liveliness to the festival, and we gave hot chocolate and cookies after the tree lighting ceremony.
I thought those were professionals.
Yeah, they were a highlight.
This is a big deal. We know who it is.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so during our year in Yak, we get a couple of opportunities to actually talk to other Yaks in other cities. One of these smaller events is Yak Social. This was hosted in the Burlingame Rec Center in December. We got to reflect on our past year in Yak, some of the events that we did, and also explain our goals for the upcoming year. And this is just a good way to brainstorm with other Yaks and see what they're doing in their city that we would like to include in ours. And one of the times in Yak Social, we actually talked about our event, Senior Tech, and a lot of other Yaks took that idea and kind of integrated it into their own community. So that event's always fun. Another part of Yak Social is we got to kind of brainstorm for our Yak Attack, which is the larger event where we include more Yaks and more members of each Yak attend that one. So we got to brainstorm some food, some events that we wanted, and just the overall theme of Yak Attack.
And in my opinion, Yak Attack was a very fun and successful event. This was last March, and we traveled down to Los Altos Community Center and met with a bunch of Yaks from around the Bay Area. There was a lot of local politicians and policymakers in attendance. We heard about their story, their careers, and their messages to the youth. This was also successful for the Brisbane Yak because we delivered a presentation as well at the conference about mental health, about what mental health is, how we can bring advocacy and awareness to mental health issues. And as a symbol for that information that we shared, we led a stress ball activity so people could take it home and remember all the good information that they learned. And last but not least, we had a rock star in our presence, Frank Kern. Councilmember Frank Kern came down and delivered an awesome presentation on the Fee Mitigation Act. And despite its maybe bland name, it was a highly interesting presentation. He learned about what it does, how it affects local government, how it's affecting the development of the park down near the marina. And then he led us in a very fun and engaging competition among the other Yaks where we designed a park given a budget and criterion in which he judged, in which we did not win, so we can talk about that. We can talk about that after. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Annie, and I'm here to talk about Teen Night. So every other week, Yak hosts Hangout in the Sunrise Room that invites all 7th to 12th graders from Brisbane. These teen nights serve as third spaces for students, and they include fun games along with a lot of snacks like pizza and soda. It is a place for teenagers to relax, have fun, and make friends. Recently, we've been hosting competitions with video games like Super Smash Bros. And other Nintendo games, so that has been really popular recently.
Alrighty. Next slide, please. Thank you. So a big part of our initiative is intergenerational engagement, and we do this a couple ways. The first way, like I previously stated, is our monthly senior tech timings. So we allow seniors to come and join us and bring any devices that they might have some trouble with. This can include their iPhones, their computers. I've had a senior even ask me if they can bring their microwave. And these, their difficulties range. So sometimes seniors need help turning on the ringer on their phones. Others need help taking apart their computer and completely restarting it. So we try our best to help. And if anything, we'll refer them to someone that can actually help them. But yeah, and this year we've also started our Sunrise newsletter. This sends out every other month. And it includes word of the days, some fun interactive games, and just some updates around events, around Brisbane, like events, and just some things going on with businesses in Brisbane. Over spring break, some Yak members, we also joined the seniors on their lunch. We helped serve them lunch that was made by one of the seniors, and it was so good. And then we just got to sit and talk with them about all sorts of things. Lastly, I spoke at the age-friendly workshop in Mission Blue a couple months ago, and I just talked about all the opportunities that we have, like the senior newsletter and the monthly senior tech meetings.
This Saturday will be our third annual walk for mental health awareness. Some things we did last year was that we painted rocks, we had a water refill station, and we also did the Ice Bucket Challenge with Councilmember Lentz. This year we will have more engagement through the walk and in the park after the walk. And one of our YAC members, Sumire, has designed these bookmarks for you guys that we will pass out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice.
And just recently, we announced an exciting partnership with the San Mateo County's Futures Commission. So recently, in 2024, the United Nations released a declaration on future policy, basically detailing that all future policy made around the world should be done in the interest of future generations, and making sure that policy is not just thinking about the present, but the lasting implications on the world and the people that will be living in the world. So San Mateo County was the first United States county to adopt this declaration and created the Futures Commission, which is comprised of some people working in local policy and also high school students like ourselves. And part of their initiative was collecting 10,000 youth voices around San Mateo County, asking, what does your future look like? What do you want it to look like? And how can we help support your vision of the future? So part of our role was elevating that message, and we created a video on behalf of the Futures Commission, just giving them advertisement for their initiative. So you can play the video if you like. Or not. Okay, well, that's the last one we did. And coming up on the 30th, we have the garden show. And then we also have a community center garden cleanup, which is to be determined with the date. And for June, to celebrate Pride Month, on the 25th, we have a Pride in the Park event, which is also on the same day as the farmers market. And there will be a bunch of different organizations from around San Mateo County in attendance. And I believe that is all we have. We appreciate the time that you have given us. And before we take any questions or comments or recommendations, we'd like to, oh, there she is. Thanks, Sarah. She is a big part, or a huge essential piece of the YAC, and we wouldn't be able to do all the fun and cool things that we do with the YAC without Sarah. So thank you.
Don't sit down. Before we transition to questions, I just want to thank all of the YAC for being courageous to come up here and speak in front of you this evening, and for all their dedication throughout the year. But especially want to acknowledge two outgoing seniors that we have, Sumire, who couldn't be here tonight, and Sebastian, who has dedicated the last 5 years to serving on this committee and making a difference for his peers in the community. So thank you so much, Sebastian. You'll be very missed. We appreciate you. And I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
First, I want to thank all of the YAC and also Sebastian. You know, your leadership has really been a catalyst. I mean, we need to acknowledge that. I don't know that this group would be where it was were it not for the vision that you had and making sure things got done and being an example to all of your peers that we don't have to just be a group and a social group, but we can accomplish things. We can be recognized for it. And I'm just always amazed because you're all so poised, and I could never have done that at your age, ever. And I don't know if you rehearsed all this. Everyone it's just seamless. You are also professional. If we ever need a theatrical coordinator, I know where to go find some people to set it up. So I'm just in awe, and I appreciate all that you've done. You really have tangible benefits, and I know the seniors are really thrilled all of the work you do there. And the fact that you got a newsletter off the ground on top of that, I'm just absolutely so impressed. I don't have enough words for it, but I want you to hear from everybody on the council. So, Councilmember Lynch, you want to start?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it is without words. It's really a feeling of joy just to see the work that you do and how much you care. It's impressive, and when you see it, and it's happening in our community, you feel good about the future, and that we are in good hands. And there's just one thing that I am super impressed about, besides just you just being incredible individuals, is your work with the seniors. A lot of seniors feel like they're left behind, and to help them. And not just to help them, but you seem like you really like to engage with them, and that's a really good lesson for everyone. And thank you for being great role models. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Just want to thank you all for your participation. It makes me really happy to know that there's more interest than there is even space. The yak was around when I was your age, and it was kind of limping along then, and it completely died out for a while. And then when I was on Park and Rec Commission, I was like, we need to really bring this back and give our teens something to do in town, because often there's just not a whole lot for people of your age group. And so it really makes me excited to see that not only is it back, but it's truly better than it's ever been, and it's thriving, and you're not just putting on dances, that's part of it, or doing fun things, but you're really making a big difference in your community. And that's something that we are incredibly thankful for. And truly something that we brag about, that our yak can accomplish so much. And when you show up at Day in the Park, when you show up at the Festival of Lights, all of that support that you're giving is really invaluable. Like our inflatable trees, truly a highlight. So just want to thank you all for the work that you've done. So I noticed on the word of the day in the example was brain rot. So are you choosing words that are current slang that maybe seniors might not be aware of? Because I think that's genius if so. Yes? Okay, love that. So anyhow, and of course, thank you, Sebastian. It's a pleasure hearing you every year give a little speech about what you guys have been doing. We'll miss you, but don't be a stranger. There's plenty of ways that you can stay engaged and apply for a Park and Rec Commission if it interests you. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, everyone.
Councilmember O'Connell?
So I just want to say how wonderful it is to see action-oriented, engaged youth. It's hard enough to engage adults who might have their life already planned out, but to see young people who are taking an interest is just so heartening to see. And I echo what the other council members have said, but it's just very wonderful to see engaged people. And of your age, that's even better. Thank you.
Thank you.
And before I call on Councilmember Kern, I just have to tell you, I would echo your comments that he can take boring topics and make them very entertaining. His reputation precedes him. Yeah.
Wow. On that note.
Well, I appreciate that, Mayor. I just want to say thank you guys. You should be so proud of yourselves for the heavy lift and all the work that you've put into our community. I know that everybody appreciates it. I am super energized to find out who one of the Christmas trees was, because we were told we would never find that out. And so it was so closely guarded. So that was amazing. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your invitation to the Yak Attack. I literally had a blast that day. You guys really stepped up. Your park could not possibly win. It would look so rigged if I picked you. So it was a stacked deck. So I just want to thank you. You're not only the obvious leaders of tomorrow, but you're the architects of Brisbane today. So I appreciate you challenging the status quo and stepping up to all the challenges that this community has provided you. Your dedication has made it a great place to live. So thank you so much.
And before we go, I also want to recognize Sarah and Noreen, because your support of YAC is also instrumental. Without you giving them that support, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. And so thank you very much for that. I'd also like to say that someday I hope to see some of you sitting up here, because I think that will happen.
Thank you very much for all the kind words personally, and as a YAC, we are very happy and excited that you guys are excited about us. So I'll be leaving this year, but we got a ton of people that are super excited to carry on the YAC. So we appreciate all your support and like the platform to talk about what we do. So thank you.
Thank you. Sure. I don't.
I don't think we have actually. This is our first one.
What's that?
We haven't done a photo with Colleen as mayor.
Probably not.
Right. Okay, so
We have
everybody.
I'm behind the
Do
tall
not sit
person.
down. Whatever you do, do not
I'm
sit
not
down.
sitting down.
I'm gonna not stand behind the tall person.
Yeah, okay.
All right, but it is about them anyway.
Yeah, we might need to step in front of the thing. It might be a little awkward.
Oh yeah, and put down the mic maybe too.
Yeah, just let's see how it looks.
Do you want me to move this to the front?
Yeah, there you go. Much better.
Can you guys just do a pyramid or something?
Maybe.
I mean, there you go.
The sports team pyramid.
Squeeze more to the right. Yeah. To my.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right. Everybody ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Come in your chair.
I'll see you on Saturday. I
Thank
put it in my calendar.
you very much.
I'm gonna do it this way.
We'll let everybody get situated here. Thank you. All right, we continue our meeting, going to oral communications number 1. We welcome speakers providing public comment, but please be advised this is a limited public forum. It's important for speakers to stay on topic, whether speaking to a particular agenda item or speaking during general public comment. On topic matters are those that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City of Brisbane. Speakers, whether during oral communications or on agenda items, will have 2 minutes. Following these rules helps ensure the City Council can get to all the items on the agenda, including hearing public comment on the items. If a speaker fails to follow these rules, they are disrupting the meeting and will be warned. If a speaker continues to ignore the rules or is otherwise disruptive, their opportunity to speak will be ended. They may also be precluded from speaking on any other items tonight. City Clerk, do we have any member of the public wishing to make a comment on any item that is not on tonight's agenda?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. We have anyone in the audience that we're not aware of? Not. Okay. Moving on. We go to the consent calendar. Tonight we have quite a few items. And I'm told on item number T, Councilmember Davis must be recused. And Council Zutler, would you like Councilmember Davis to leave the room or just abstain from voting?
It's fine to just abstain from voting. And you could state your conflict.
Now? Okay. My conflict is that the organization that I work for is applying for the co-sponsorship.
All right, thank you. So that being said, we have consent calendar items first C through S. Can I get a first and second to approve consent calendar C through S?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Now we move to item T, and Mayor Pro Tem Davis is recusing herself from the vote. Can I get a first and second to approve consent calendar item T?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Our next item on tonight's agenda is swearing in newly appointed committee members. I see some people in the audience. And I was going to read your names out. We have Jose Moreno with Complete Street Safety Committee, Janice, I hope I say your name right, Young, Complete Street Safety Committee, Hannah Carney, Open Space and Ecology Committee, Lupita Gonzalez, Idea Committee, and Kat Thomas, Public Art Advisory Committee. City Clerk, could you please, if everyone would come up to the front here, if the City Clerk could please administer the oath of allegiance for public officers and employees.
I will now administer an oath or affirmation of allegiance for public officers and employees. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations.
I want to thank you all for applying and your willingness to serve your community as you enter this chapter of public service. I can tell you that you're going to have some hard work, but the rewards are really very, very gratifying. And I hope you have a wonderful journey on this chapter of your life. We appreciate your willingness to serve. Thank you.
And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You won't offend us.
All right, take
Thank
care.
you.
Congratulations.
All right, our next item is under new business. Item V is review and acceptance of the fiscal year 2022-23 audit. And I believe we have Carolina Yuen with a staff report for us.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. We will have a presentation on the screen, so I'll wait until that's placed on your screens. Thank you for having us tonight to present the results of the audit for fiscal year ended June 30, 23. This was issued in December of 25, and we understand this is a late report, and we apologize for the delay, and we will express that further down in this presentation. But however, first we want to, for the benefit of the public and council members, want to give an overall description of the financials and the report itself, the components, just to understand how it's come about. So what we refer as the ACFR is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. And we compile this every year to inform the users of the city's financial condition and performance. It provides accurate, meaningful information concerning the city's condition and performance used by public officials, investors, creditors, taxpayers, and others who use financial reports. It's the authoritative body governing this document is GASB, or the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. It's independent and authoritative body. So just so that you know, GASB has up to 104 standards. So for 22 years, there were only 49. And they've, since 2006, we've been seeing regularly additional standards so that they're now up to 104 that we have to implement and make sure that the financial statements comply with all of these standards. The audits are required by law. We have to file with the state, and then they're also required for compliance with our lenders and other debtors for the debt instruments that we have. And so we file annual reports with the bond agencies and all of the financial institutions that are interested regarding our debt. Moving on to the next page. So the structure of the ACFR, it's a similar format every year. So there are 3 sections that you'd see on the screen. The intro section introduces the reader to the report and lays a foundation to provide context to the reader. Included are the manager's letter of transmittal, which highlights the city and acts like an open house tour for the reader. It also includes the city's principal officials and org chart so that the reader can understand how the business is conducted within the city. Then there's the financial section. This is what most people think of as when they're looking at financials. But it's an audited section. This is the only section that's truly audited, upon which includes the independent auditor's report and their opinion if the financials present the financial position fairly, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or what we accountants refer to as GAAP. And so we're happy to report that ours was given a clean opinion. The core financials that most folks refer to, again, as the financials. Part of the financial section that is important to read are the footnotes. They offer additional detail to the summary financial reports. And then there is also the MD&A, which is the Management's Discussion and Analysis Report, and it provides results in plain English as a narrative of the results and highlights of the financials themselves. And then finally, the last section is the statistical section, which offers multi-year financial trends, debt capacity, and demographic economic information. This, again, adds context to the users to understand not just current results, but long-term financial trends, where we've been, in the hopes of that we could start predicting where we're going into the future. Now, several schedules, if they do offer trend data, it's over a 10-year period for comparison. Again, it's a nice way to see where the city has been and how it has evolved over 10 years. Next, so how do we read the ACFR? Again, the statements provide the numbers. The year's highlights provided through the transmittal letter and MD&A are very important for the user to read through, as it's more common and understandable to the average reader. And then, again, the statistical section and the notes are integral to the review of the ACFR. So moving to the next slide. From the next from the 3 sections, we're going to do some highlights of just the financial section tonight. Next. So for the financial results, I'm focusing on the general fund tonight. And if we recall where we were in 23, coming out of COVID, with 21 and 22, was when we were budgeting our numbers for 23. But we were considering that we would have a deficit at that time. So at the end of fiscal 23, we actually came out ahead by $323,000. So the revenue exceeded our budget by 2.2 million, and the expenses actually also exceeded the budget by 8.2 million. You may say, wait, what? How do you get an increase with expenses that large? Just want to make sure you note that the expenses in the financials include some accounting standards that we have to address. And one of the standards this year in 23 was the implementation of GASB 87 that has to do with leases. And by doing that, normally we just apply for rent as an expense, but GASB 87 said, okay, we're going to take this rent lease agreement that you have, and we're going to make you consider this almost, you have to report the long-term liability that you have with that lease, as well as looking at the property that you're leasing in as an asset, a lease asset. So one big entry of 5.5 million are included in those expenses. So if you really look at what we had net of that, it was only exceeded the budget by 2.7 million. And then also the top number, general fund increase, includes net of operating transfers, and on the flip side of that expense was 5.5 million below the line. So in net, when you look at all of the financials, that 5.5 addition to the expenses was offset by 5.5, so it nets to the bottom. So with that, we ended up with an increase of $300,000. Moving to the next page, I just wanted to highlight some of the areas of our revenue, why we were increased by 2.2 above our budget. Property taxes went up to the tune of 624,000. Sales tax, 541,000. TOT came out better than expected by 339. And then our fees and charges increased over budget as we forecasted at the mid-year by 411,000. So those were the highlights of the reason why we did see an increase in our revenues. The next slide shows something that we've been talking to recently, are the sales tax. And if you recall 2021, during COVID, we actually saw some spikes. We had not only the benefit of the county pool increase, the real, but then in 21, 22, we saw the adjustment because the real left. And there were some other decreases at that time. However, starting in the fiscal year 22-23, you see that the sales tax was starting to trend upward. So it was very gradual, which if you recall from several meetings ago when we looked currently, sales tax trend is increasing a little more aggressively. So that's what we wanted to highlight for the financial section. Moving to the next section, next slide. So in the past, I've been here for about 10 years now. There is another report that is referenced in the ACFR to work hand in hand, which is called the Memorandum on Internal Control. So it's a separate report, but it's referenced in order to, when you're reviewing the financial results, you can understand the environment of how the financial reports are prepared. MOIC, we're calling it the MOIC, that's for short. MOIC hasn't been presented, at least since I've been here, so publicly for at least 10 years. Therefore, I wanted to give a little background of how to read this report and what it's for. So the purpose is, it describes the scope of the audit. It's very important to understand they don't look at everything every year. That's just impossible. So there is a risk assessment that takes place that has to be done at the beginning of each engagement. And the MOIC describes the procedures that they've taken to perform these assessments and what they've decided to look at and the results of those tests. And then they look and see if there are any findings. then there are actionable recommendations given by the auditors. Why it matters. This is huge for the governing body, which is the city council, to understand what's going on and how the reporting and the reports are being prepared. And it enhances the transparency for each of you to fully understand what's underlying the numbers and have trust in those numbers that are presented each year. And it includes the management's response so that you see a recommendation, but also the management has a chance to either plead their case or at least describe what has already been implemented, or if there are anything that maybe cannot be done. So I just want to make sure that you understand that having a finding is not a bad thing. It's very good to learn best practices, learn what new methods are, but it's also the auditors have to do their job and advise if there's a risk, if there's a risk out there. But sometimes, like in a city, a smaller city like ourselves, there could be comments that it's not cost effective to do something, so you have to determine how am I going to mitigate that risk. So those are areas that would be included in these management response. So it's important to know that it's not a bad thing to have a finding, and it's very important for the auditors and staff, the city, to work together to get to the best process possible. Moving on to the next slide. So these are the focus areas. Control environment, tone at the top. This is huge. How does the information flow? How are the policies and procedures put into place and adhered to? Again, the risk assessment, there's, based off of areas, whether it's trends or whether it's city-specific trends, or if there's areas that could be a concern for a city, depending on looking at budget to actual. There are a lot of tests that are done to determine that risk assessment at the beginning of the engagement. Then control activities are reviewed, information communication, and then the monitoring of processes and reporting. Moving to the next area. So the structure of the MOIC, the cover letter was the memorandum, and then it goes into each finding. And so there's different sections. There's a schedule of material weakness, a schedule of significant deficiencies, and then the schedule of other matters, which are not only findings, but it's also an opportunity for the auditors to alert not only staff, but mainly the governing body, that there are additional GASBs that are out there that the city is going to have to prepare for. And it's a way to educate the council on these matters coming down the line. Okay, moving to the next slide. So for the fiscal year 23, I think it's very important to note that from the findings that the city, the findings that resulted in the MOIC for the city for this year did not change that audit opinion. And I think we won't need to stress that. However, personally, I apologize for the delay of these financials. And I understand that it is not ideal to have this late in the game. And I understand that it's very important to have timely information on a regular basis, and for you as the governing body to make sure that you feel you're making the best decisions you have with the best information. And so with that, we have to look at this report and understand that the staff report is very descriptive of each finding and recommendation. We don't want these delays in reporting to be an issue, but we were not surprised. We were expecting to see these comments because we knew that there were delays in the process. Mays, our auditing firm, would not be doing their job if they didn't make these comments. And so we as staff, again, work with the auditors understanding that. But with that, we agree with the recommendations that they make. We understand the importance of timely records and reporting. And the main thing is, what do we do now? And so I'm here to alert you or to inform that remedies are already started to be put in place. We've taken steps to move us in a better position to not only catch up, but also how do we prevent to be in this position going forward. As discussed in the staff report, these steps include department reorganizations, expanding assignments to staff, accessing external resources, whether that's external to our department as well as external consultants. And then also improving the technical tools that we have, whether that's the software tools and applications. So with that, I want to look at beyond. Just the next slide. The city is in a very strong position financially. We're teed up to, we've had positive results and we're in a position to continue to be strong. But I want to highlight the areas of the financials and the strategic methods that we're using. From the city's revenues, we've already started fee and tax studies to improve the revenues and find ways to expand and those revenues. We're seeing growth in sales taxes as we described before, so it puts us in a better position going forward. On the expense side, we know that we have to consider the labor negotiations that are, the MOUs are going to expire in June. So those costs are coming later this year, so we have to manage that. And then also the staff continues to have efficient management of resources is our responsibility as staff. We're continually reviewing our procedures, our programs to streamline as much as possible in order to keep costs down and to use our resources better. On the fund balance side, we have policies in place that are strong to plan for the next day or for future years. And it's up to us that we have to evaluate when we're going to, if there's changes that need to be made. But the city has history of maintaining strong policies because it's not scared to reserve for the future. And I think that's very important. And it's something that this council should be proud of. And then finally, on the strategic side, this is primarily for the finance department. We're committed to providing consistent reporting and long-term financial planning. Although we've been meeting with departments and management and providing reports, it hasn't been as consistent as it should be. And so we're committing to do that. We're as soon as 24 audit report is completed, we'll be applying for the bond rating reinstatement. And then finally, we're addressing our staffing and reinforcing the assignments that we have. So with that, I just again want to thank you for your time and for this opportunity for us to at least address some of the issues that have caused delays in this reporting. And I wanted to introduce you to a consultant that we've engaged, Carol Atwood, who would like to say a few words. She's engaged to assist with the audits to complete 24 and 25, and also work with me in some strategic planning in our department. So with that, Carol.
Good evening, Mayor Meckham and council members. My name is Carol Atwood. I'm a consultant with Municipal Resource Group, otherwise known as MRG. I didn't do retirement well, so I got bored and decided to go into consulting. And I have to say, I've been very busy in the finance and admin services arena because things have changed over the years in finance. And so in that effort of being transparent to the council, I did want to give you kind of an updated report. I've been working with your city manager and finance director for the last several months, mostly on project management and strategic planning, and how can we get this backlog done so that we can get our reporting caught up, and that you can have your budget and your ACFR presentations done on a timely basis, apply for awards again, and get that information also out to your citizenry. I want to report that finance departments, and I was over finance for over 30 years. In the past, they were the silent department that really didn't have a lot of fanfare and exposure to the public, like a park and rec department, or even planning and building or public works. They just kind of made sure everybody got paid on time and vendors' checks were out there and the financials were done on time. But I would say in the last 5 to 10 years, that has changed a lot, and it's keeping me very busy in my second career here, because I can't tell you how many clients I've gone into just in the past 2 years and have assessed, what's the bottleneck in finance and why aren't these reports getting out on a timely basis? Why aren't the year-end closes being done on a timely basis? And it boils down to 3 areas, and Carolina kind of addressed that, but it has to do with software conversions. The department thinks they can do it on their own. They want to save money for the city because finance people are normally pretty frugal, to our detriment. And second is turnover. We've had a lot of retirements in the past 10 years. Turnover is not an easy thing to do because sometimes you don't get notice on it, and then to do a recruitment takes 4 to 5 months to actually fill. By the time you make sure that job description is correct and you go out and recruit and you hope you have a good applicant and then you have background and everything else. So that's a definite. And then as Carolina mentioned in just the GASB pronouncements, I'm so glad as a CPA they only had 13 FASBs at the time. And now they have a lot of extra compliance. And just the new GASB 101 on compensated absences for your fiscal year 25 coming up, that thing takes forever to compute because you have to look at trends by employee and are they going to take sick leave even though it vests and vacation. It's not a real easy calculation anymore. So all of those mandates have added to workload. And unfortunately, the bad news is Brisbane is right in there with the rest of my clients. And you've kind of done it on supercharge mode because instead of just one computer conversion, like a Tyler Munis conversion, you've had 5 in the last 5 years. And you've had major turnover or situations where employees have been out because of family medical leave. We have an aging population, and a lot of people are taking care of parents these days. And then finally, the mandates. So I want to tell you, even though it's bad news, you're not alone in this boat. And what we're trying to do is get a lot of finance departments back up to speed and almost treat it these days like a disaster preparedness plan, where you give them the tools to, if they start to fall behind, they know what to do to hire people to help them get over those humps or that special project. The good news, although I know it doesn't seem like it tonight because you only have your 23 audit before you, but the good news is you have a dedicated staff that is a very good team because I've watched them and they interact well with each other. I think in the future they need to expand that with the other departments so that there's no surprises on grants or capital projects or a developer that's being a little challenging. the biggest thing that I think is going for you is your staff is owning this, and so is your city manager. And they are not putting up excuses, and they are agreeing with their auditors on all of these findings, and they are asking for help on how can they put in more streamlining, how can they delegate, how can they fix software that hasn't been working, like your budget module, which takes forever just to get the budget to actual statements in your ACFR. It's amazingly long process. And then finally, they are making progress. And I wanted to tell you that tonight. You're not in that boat alone. Your staff is making progress. We are about ready to wrap the fiscal year 24 ACFR statement and internal control statement, which will look very similar to the one you have before you tonight. So we didn't expect anything different. It'll also address the fact that you had to have a single audit this year for 24 because you had federal funding over a $750,000 threshold. That is getting started because you need to take the financial statement numbers and then do the single audit numbers and make sure you're in compliance. So that's going to hold up 24 a little bit, but as far as the actual statements and the MOIC, that'll probably be done in the next couple of weeks. So again, you're making progress. Staff has done a good chunk of the fiscal year 25 audit as we speak. They have the auditors coming in for interim in the next week to week and a half to do interim audit work on 25. And if we can get 25 behind us shortly after 24, then you're going to be in pretty good shape because then you're doing 26 on time. So I wanted to give you that information so that at least you feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel by someone that's an outsider looking in. And then I would also like to say that we also have one of the audit partners from Mays and Associates here tonight as well. Not the partner that was on this particular audit because she's on vacation, on an anniversary vacation. But Grace has come down to answer any technical questions you might have because some of the pension liability and inflows and outflows, if you happen to look at this because you couldn't sleep that night, she can answer all those questions for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Grace. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm standby to see if you have any questions. My name is Grace. I'm representing Mason Associate. We are the external auditor for the city. We're not one of the more reputable municipal auditors.
Thank you for joining us. And I think that we'll go to some council questions, but we may have questions for any one of you three if you could stand by. And thank you also, Ms. Atwood, for joining us tonight and giving that portion, explanation, presentation. That's very helpful as well. Carolina, did you have more that you needed to continue first?
No, I just wanted to open it up to questions and just, let you know that Carol and Grace are available for general questions.
So before we get into questions, I just, in seeing the presentation you had, and when I see Gatsby now, I think they should change the name to GASP because the dollar amounts that we saw, it's striking, but I also understand Gatsby just keeps layering more and more requirements. So anyway. Let's start with Councilmember, and thank you for the presentation and all of you being here, by the way. So let's go into questions. Councilmember O'Connell?
I don't have any questions right now. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Kern?
I do have some questions. So thank you so much for the detailed overview and letting us know the state of the state, where we stand on the audits. So my question, again, the newest council member, so my first time through one of these. So the council is going to receive this tonight. We're going to accept it, or should we accept it? Let's put it that way. Should we accept it? What happens tomorrow morning going forward?
As
What are the
far-
next steps?
For the audit?
Yep.
Well, the audit is complete. As far as our recommendations, obviously, those are continuing, that we keep working towards any recommendations from the LaMoik. But then we're off and running, working on the next year, which we're in the middle of, but continuing to complete the next fiscal year's audit.
Got it. Thank you. There's a statement in here, and it's on page 147 of 415. It says, "The City of Brisbane maintained an A+ rating from Standard & Poor's at June 30th of 2023. However, the bond rating was removed in late 2025 due to the late submission of financial statements." Is this a true statement?
That's correct. So at the time of the fiscal year close, we still had the rating. But one of the requirements of presenting an ACFR is to provide significant events subsequent to the audit date to better inform the reader of anything that's transpired since 6/30 that we're currently aware of, up to the audit date, which is December 25.
Okay, in rereading that statement, let me rephrase my question. It says, however, the bond rating was removed in late 2025 due to late submission of financial statements. Is that the only reason the bond rating was removed?
That was the reasoning they provided during their notification.
Okay. Thank you. You guys did such a great job teeing this up that you answered several of my questions in that. One moment. I'm normally a little more organized than this.
Do you want us to come back to you?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm good.
All right.
So it's difficult to ask questions on this because we're asking about stuff that's 3 years ago now, right? And we're in a completely different position. But there is some stuff that was standing out, and I just feel like I have an obligation as my fiduciary responsibility to ask the question.
Absolutely.
So on page 221 of 415, it says FEMA assistance. So in January 2023, I remember we had our quote-unquote, I'll call it a mudslide, I don't know what else to call it in town here. It said the city received approximately $550,000 as of April of 2024. Is that all we're expecting from FEMA?
No.
Okay,
So we
that's not all?
No. So in 23 and then in 24, we received more. So we're over $2 million in receipts.
Okay, so that's where my question lies here. It says we had the damage, and the city received notification from FEMA that the city will receive a grant funding to cover certain construction costs. The city received approximately $550,000 in April of 24, but this audit ends in June of 23. I didn't understand this sentence. The city received approximately $550,000 in April of 24. That would be outside of this audit period.
Again, we're required to inform the user of anything that's transpired between 6/30 and the audit date of December 25.
Got it, okay. Thank you. Okay, you answered that one. I have one more here. Let's see what this is. So I'm on page 276 of 415, and it's called the City of Brisbane Custodial Funds Combined Statement of Net Position. And it's got a list of custodial funds, Developer Deposits Fund, other custodial funds. I'm sure you're very familiar with the page, intimately familiar. Why does BDI 9000 Marina Fund, why is it blank?
Let's see if I... That is the latest fund for, I'm sorry. You're looking at the
I'm
assets?
at page 277 of 415.
Yeah. At the time, I think we have a fund, but I don't believe it was set up, but I could follow up on that. Yeah. Because everything should add up. And so, since we're doing it later, it could have been set up on our system, but without activity at that time. And this is the newer property on Sierra Point for the hotel portion. Yeah.
Got it, okay. And then also on custodial funds, and this is my final question at this time. I don't see anything from regarding the Baylands on the custodial funds. Is there a reason that that wasn't included in this reporting period?
It actually is, and it's sitting in the Developer Deposits Fund column.
Oh, it just doesn't say BD. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
So when do we expect our bond rating to be reestablished?
So one of the requirements was not only to have fiscal 23 completed, but also to have 24. So that's why we're working very diligently to get that completed sooner than later. So as soon as those are available, we will be applying. However long that takes, it could take, we were told it could take 6 to 8 weeks. Some other agencies have had it sooner, but that's what they've indicated. And it's also not only dependent on us, but on their resources as well.
When do we expect to fully be caught up with all of our outstanding audits?
So with field work being done for fiscal year 25 to be conducted in June, our hope is to have a report available either late July or August for us to review, and then from there, depending on also the auditors have their resources that they have to provide as well. So considering that we are not only, it's not only up to us, but that's what we're shooting for.
Realistically, once a close of the fiscal year, how quickly do we expect audits to happen?
So even though it's June 30 is the date of the audit, you actually have until August to recognize revenues that come in regarding that year, and then recognize expenses like late invoices, but for services provided. So by the time we get our information over to the auditors, it's usually like October. And because we're a smaller city, we're usually scheduled later in the year. And so most of the time, the auditors are actually here in November. And so we're due to have it by the end of December because of the bonds, and then also because of Measure A and Measure W requirements. So
it could be under normal conditions.
It could take 6
It could be
months.
6 months, and that would be, Standard & Poor's would say that that's a realistic amount of time.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. That's all my questions.
Okay. Councilmember Lentz?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the report. Obviously, we can't go back in time. We have to deal with what we're dealing with right now, though it is, of course, helpful to understand how things transpired so that we don't do this again. So just to be clear, what you're presenting right now is only the fiscal year of 22-23, and that all of the financial information in here is related to that fiscal year.
Correct.
No other fiscal year.
Correct, except for an area which is called the subsequent events that would talk about anything that transpired since between June and then the December when the audit was finalized.
Okay, great. And then the annual comprehensive financial report, that is required by state law?
Yes.
Okay, and what happens if you don't submit that report? Is there a letter that comes from the state saying, hey, where is it?
They keep track of who has submitted and who doesn't. We haven't received any letters from the state, but there's also a separate filing that we have to do with the state. That's the Department of Finance. We also have the annual, the name escapes me, but it's basically an annual financial report that we have to file.
Okay.
And we file that and then it coincides with the financials. So for 24, that has been submitted. 23 had been submitted, 24 has been submitted with the information we had at the time. So they are aware that our financials are not final.
Okay, all right. Yeah, just trying to get an understanding, if you don't pay your taxes.
Right.
they just don't say, hey, see you later.
Right.
I hope you pay the next time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the memorandum on internal control. So, so the auditors issued the memorandum on internal control. That's also required to be a part of the ACFR. So that has to happen.
Yes, it works hand in hand. It's referenced alongside with within the ACFR. It is referenced that for the governing body to make sure that they're aware there's a separate report that's out there for your information to go through all of the areas required.
Okay, all right. One of the things about public government is that you have to be transparent. You want to be accountable, and here we are on the dais, and we're talking about these things, and the public can read them. So, under the schedule of material weakness, so it says that you give the reasons for the delay, and I know that you had mentioned those reasons in a previous meeting. So I'm just trying to understand where the communication was. That I know that's part of one of your slides. It talked about improving the communication, and so obviously when you read this, there's a lot of issues going on. The previous city manager was in charge, not the current one. So I'm curious, what was your communication with the previous city manager in regards to, hey, here are these issues, I need some help. Was there any of that?
There are regular meetings that I have in my position with the city manager. And information is shared on issues happening within our department as well as with the city, obviously. At the time, having additional resources was not an option available to us, which now has changed.
Got it. All right. Obviously, those weren't there. The city manager and you said, hey, yeah, there's nothing we can really do about this right now because of the circumstances.
All I could say is that obviously when things start gradual and then things were compounded with projects and limited resources with a small department and small city, what the community sees, those functions were working timely, and payroll, UB, those things that people are interfacing every day. Because of a small department where you have limited resources of reviews and to maintain internal controls, which is very important, segregation of duties is extremely important in order to have strong financials. But it's a challenge with smaller because there's less people to do those reviews and supervisory steps. So that was the area where we didn't have as much as we needed because the same resources doing those were also part of the other projects of software implementations and experiencing leaves themselves. So it was a smaller group, which again, we've changed that now going forward, or Carol's here as one of the changes has been to help alleviate that level so that it won't be an issue going forward.
Okay. So my last question is, so we're putting these remedies in place. How will the council be updated with data, not just, hey, things are moving along, right? I mean, I think that was part of the problem. I mean, we as council members, one of the biggest responsibility we have is the budget. And it's hard for us to do our job in a responsible way if we're not seeing the data as well. So as you're moving forward with these remedies, how will you inform the council of in details, not just in kind of gloss over, but more detailed information for us?
So as we mentioned in the slide of beyond one of the strategic commitments we have is we've already implemented a new budgeting tool to simplify and avoid some of the problems that we were having with the budget tool that didn't work and was causing issues. But also it was causing part of our financial process to stop and go for the reporting. And so our commitment is to have the financial reports, not just the investment reports, but more of the financial performance of like the general fund and other major funds presented to management and therefore to the council's, my understanding that was the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Carolina, et al. You've already answered a question about S&P and bond rating. Do we not, in addition to audit being delayed, have a difficulty with GVMID?
That was a separate issue for the utility bond. So there was a concern that the reason they looked at us, it started with the concern because the utility funds were not meeting the compliance ratios. And so it started the path of them going forward. And part of the concern that they had is that in order to, through the financials, they have their own rules, that there's they actually have a 2-year limit for you to provide financials. So unfortunately, because it went beyond that, they had to pull the rating.
So will the bond related to GVMID have to be remedied before S&P will consider looking at the rating?
My understanding is to have the rating, it could alter what rating we receive.
I see.
But the financials was the reason that was provided.
Okay. And reading about implementation software systems, and that's always very rocky, anybody who's gone through that. And the two that were noted were land permitting system and marina billing and berth management systems. I wasn't clear whether these are under the jurisdiction of the finance department or planning and marina public works. Could you clear that up for me?
So they are not under our purviews per se, under our management. However, they have to be planned in coordination with our financial system. Optimal use is to fully integrate. And so when we were working with the planning team to go through the Clarity, which is the land permitting system, there are a lot of steps in place, and you have to make sure that the information that the design that they have will provide the information that we need in order to provide the financial information. So the transactional data, reporting, payment systems that have to go through us eventually, all of that we have to coordinate with them. And so those are projects that require supervisory level and above to participate. And so same with the MOLO system for the marina. It was a design, how to design it so that when they give us, if it's not going to be fully integrated, then the reports that are generated from the system have to provide enough information for us to use it and then do the entries that we need on our system. And then also we have to plan for the payment structures and modules that they implement.
Okay, so that kind of begs the question for me that knowing we're a small city, we've had an IT consultant who noted copious amounts of software being used by different departments. And I don't know who wants to take this question on, anybody that's willing. And knowing that going forward, we've made requests as a council to start looking at all the IT software applications and finding better ways, as you mentioned, to integrate them between departments. And the concern is you had to react in finance to something going on in two different departments. How can we improve that? Because if that comes at a time, well, we're rolling this out in planning, not an issue, but you're trying to prepare for an audit. This is not an easy thing to do. And so have we given any thought to maybe this is just citywide staff and the city manager trying to implement better coordination so that, two software integrations in one period of time, that's a lot if it involves your department and you don't have a choice. You have to get up to speed and they're going, hey, we're putting this in place. You don't have a choice and you're going, wait a minute, I'm really busy over here. So any suggestions, any of you, would you like to address on, from your perspective, how can we make that better?
Actually, through the chair, I could probably start that and perhaps Carolina and the team have something to share. I've always want to be candid about our observations related to our operations. One observation that I made relatively quickly when I first joined the organization and have been working with the department heads on is de-siloing our departments. For too long, our departments were operating effectively, in many ways, independently of one another and not communicating with one another. So there's a lot of real opportunity to break those barriers down. And some of what we're doing is very simplistic sort of opportunities. One example is the hiring of management analyst, Molly Brown. Molly allows the city manager's office to have someone who's has budget experience, has other experiences, going between the departments and ensuring that we're having the conversations that we need to have. At the department head meetings, I changed those meetings in order to ensure that everyone was hearing about projects as they were coming into their embryonic stage. And then I've included staff members who weren't previously part of those discussions. So I think that that's helped immensely. I think it's a structural cultural issue that we've had for some time. And like I've made the joke, you're turning the ship with one rudder, and it takes a little bit of time. But I'm proud of the work that the staff has done and have embraced a culture where we're a little less protective of our own domains and a little more interested in making sure that we're all working together in the same goal. But that's just a couple examples of what we're trying to do.
Thank you. That's helpful. And I think one other thing, just as I recall from the IT consultant, is that because of years and years of different software applications, and each department has its goals. So what you're talking about, breaking down the siloing, that is important, but also other departments understanding how many things feed into finance and that you may be doing manual entries that maybe shouldn't be done that way. And thinking about where we talk about software and adding software and responding to the public wants information. And it often makes things way more complicated, and Gatsby adding on. Public wants more info, we keep trying to provide it, but it comes at a cost because you have XYZ size staff and it becomes more and more difficult because somewhere in there, things, you don't just press a button, people think computers do everything or AI is going to just fix everything. There comes a point at which there's manual, there's the intelligence of the personnel and the department having to deal with this. So I did want to give you an opportunity to respond also about the software integration.
I do want to say that I actually am grateful that finance was involved in the design of some of these other implementations, because I've been in companies or agencies where finance like comes in at the end, and by then it's too late. Then you just have to work with whatever's there. And I've also done many software implementations throughout my career. And so one of the options also is not only internal resources, but whether we need to bring in someone external to work side by side to voice the financial needs. So that could be an option as well. So it would be like hiring someone, like, a consultant that is familiar with either the tool or, but from the financial perspective, not just the land permitting side. So, and then they would work hand in hand and with us to help be our voice for the decisions that have to be made as they're finalizing the design. So, and I do echo Jeremy in the sense where moving away from silos is definitely been a help and a step in the right direction.
Through the chair, another area that I think is germane to this conversation is I think this organization is exceptionally good at preparing reports or having consultants prepare reports, and I think we have a room for improvement in implementation of those reports. There are a variety of reports, including the IT report, that we have not fully implemented for a variety of reasons, partially with change in staff. Now that we have James Stevenson on board, he can support that project. So that's another area where I think we can get bogged down at times, and then we got to sort of start over, especially with some of these older reports, which is unfortunate. But
Well, any changes within software applications, it's very easy for one department to say, this works really well for us, we want to purchase this software. But this will then take a lot of planning to make sure it integrates really well across other departments, and that's very helpful when you talk about de-siloing.
And the department heads will tell you that I'm a bit of a stickler when it comes to requests for new software at this point. I am simply not interested in adding software for the sake of adding software. I'm really much more interested in seeing what we can get out of what we currently have. Are they compatible with one another? So I want us to always be very cautious in knee-jerking into, well, we'll just get the software to solve this problem. And I look at it from a fiscal perspective, too. You could do that 2 or 3 times and suddenly you've added a couple $100,000. We don't own anything anymore. We rent everything. So you could see over the course of just a few years, and this is true in my previous experience in another community, where suddenly you have a lot of software and you're spending a lot of money, and it hasn't been fully considered how it all fits together. You're just trying to solve a problem that's in front of you.
Okay. And then I have one last kind of off-the-wall question. And in thinking about reserves, and because this audit was a year that was a difficult year in January with the storms and the mud and the rocks coming down the street and the water, and it makes me look at reserves in a new light. And also with the current policies that have come out of Washington on FEMA, and that has me concerned. Are there cities that are implementing new approaches to reserves because of that?
New approaches or modifying?
In terms of modifying or saying these type of changes would be advisable at this time?
I could just say I know that we've already started discussing as far as, revisiting policies that we have in place, not necessarily resulting maybe from the particular areas, but I don't know, Carol or Grace, if you have any comments on that.
Well, and I don't know how long our reserve policy has been in effect. So, I mean, that's we could get into another whole discussion on that. But when you start looking at the dollar amounts, then you go, maybe it's time to revisit that.
Right. And it just because some of the reserves that we had, the amounts that we had that was the price at that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. Very good at the time. Yeah. Could you come up here, please?
One shoe does not fit all. You will look at 10 different agencies and find 10 different reserve policies. But I think I was reading that your last time you looked was like in 2017. So it's nice to look at those reserves at least every 10 years. I would say that since your sales projections look so good for sales tax, now might be a great time to look at those reserves because you have that future potential when you're looking at a long-term financial planning to actually start to have more reserves at your at your disposal. The last thing you want to do is necessarily try to spend them. So I'd say a lot of cities right now are not in that same good financial position that you are. Sales tax is not increasing. And so they are worried about how are they going to pay their CalPERS. And if this new legislation goes in and kind of claws back PEPRA, how in the heck are they going to pay their fire and public safety CalPERS and UAL? So they're kind of in a different boat than you, but I would say now's a great time to look at those reserves because if you're projecting positive cash flow at the end of the year, the big things I see is a reserve for capital projects, a reserve for economic uncertainty. I know you have already discussed a lot of this stuff, and that's good for you, and you're on the right track, but it would be a good time for you guys to actually add that to your goals, I think, when you're looking at budget goals and say, what's the threshold where once I hit a certain reserve level, it automatically goes to a pot of money, or I'm going to, take my UAL unfunded liability for CalPERS and maybe pay it off at a faster rate than a 20-year. Maybe I'm going to go to a 15-year or even more. You'll never pay it off because you can't control the actuarial assumptions they make and their interest earnings, but you can at least start to get your funding level up better by putting some money into that pot. So good suggestion.
Okay. And I'd like to just give an opportunity for someone on council if you have other questions you've thought of.
I just have one quick question. On page 276 of 415, I wanted to follow up on Councilmember Kern's question about the developer deposit funds. And I understand BDI is not called out in this as a separate fund. Has that been corrected as of today in our financials?
I can make the recommendation. If we need to separate those, we'll reevaluate and discuss if that's what the council wants to see it separate. Because they're separate funds there, so.
Well, every other project is separated. This is the only one that's a blanket, and so I'm not sure if that is would be called BDI, Developer Deposit Fund, or if that is a multitude of different developer funds.
It's a combination of.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
There are two components to their funds, so that's a combined.
But it's all BDI?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it's just improperly named.
So we can make that correction.
I just want to make sure that is corrected.
For fiscal 24.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Sounds like that's it. Thank you very much. And thank you to Grace from Maze and also to Ms. Atwood for joining us tonight and Carolina for the presentation. Do we have any council discussion?
Madam Mayor, public comment?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Do we have public comment?
We have a hand raised from
Okay.
Diana S.
Go ahead.
Thank you, council and staff for presenting this. This has been kind of an ongoing thing. We're very delinquent in this. We've got another fiscal year end coming up in 6 weeks, and we're still like 3-4 years behind. One of the things I've been monitoring is some small communities similar to ours have established a finance and audit committee. I think maybe Brisbane might want to look into that. If we can keep track of this because this kind of went sideways on us, which is very unfortunate. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, very good. Council discussion, anyone? Councilmember Councilmember Kern, we'll start with you.
I don't have any topics for discussion at this time.
Okay, Councilmember O'Connell.
No comments, but I'd make a motion to accept the report.
Okay, let's see if we have any other discussion. Councilmember Lentz, please.
Yeah, I appreciate the recommendations that staff has said that they will do. I think it would be helpful if the council had, just a little bit more details on things, and maybe it's, on a quarterly basis or whatever, is appropriate. I think we have a finance committee, maybe more meetings with them just to, just to get a deeper dive on understanding where we are and just the process, right? Because this has been a black eye for the city, and we don't want to go there again. So just putting that out there, and I would also move forward with approving this.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Well, I appreciate the third party input, and I don't know if relief is the right word, but to know that we are not this is not isolated with just us. This is something that you're seeing across many cities. It doesn't necessarily give me comfort, but it doesn't make me feel as bad. And it sounds like this is kind of really boiled down to the 3 areas highlighted and that you mentioned, and they're in the staff report. And so I'm glad that we've gotten kind of some extra support to ensure that we're getting this completed and back on track. And so I'm looking forward to getting our audited 2023, 2024 and 2024, 2025, and then our 2025, 2026. So anyhow, I hope we're not in this position again, and I'm glad we're taking the steps to rectify. So
I would just echo the same comments, but also thank all of staff for your patience with all of our questions. And City Attorney, this doesn't appear to be an action item for a vote, or we are accepting the audit. Do we need to do a vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. So that being said, accepting the fiscal year 22-23 audit, can I have a first and second, please?
I already did the first.
Okay.
Sorry,
Councilmember O'Connell
I'll second.
first, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Next item on our agenda is item W, receive sanitary sewer smoke testing information update. Staff report, please. Looks like Moz is coming to the podium.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Osborne, Virginia Public Works Director. While the slide deck gets loaded up, this will be the only time I'll blow smoke at the council meeting. So I can help myself, I'm sorry.
Well done.
So I'm here tonight to just provide a quick update on the city's upcoming sanitary sewer smoke testing. Next slide, please. As we mentioned, recommendation, just an informational item. This is a project, a program that's been funded as part of our operating budget. So there's no action requested tonight. Next slide, please. A little bit of background. The reason we do the smoke testing and these different types of testing that we do for our sanitary sewer system is because of the aging infrastructure. And this is not uncommon. This is something that many municipalities face. And the city of Brisbane and our utilities team has made this a priority, especially as it relates to our sewer system. As we're looking at additional costs and negotiations with our wastewater treatment plant provider. So that's an important part. The other component is that the aging infrastructure. We have bulk of pipes, sewer system networks that are dating back to 1940s and 1980s, those are the ages at that point where you really want to start looking at it. 80 years is a great life for an asset for wastewater systems, and some of those are getting to that point. So we are looking at analyzing areas of critical concern. And with the purpose of boosting our reliability, efficiency, and addressing areas that have the highest risk with respect to failure. And then as we do that analysis, then it's the planning and investigating component, which is now that we know we have an issue, where is it specifically, and how do we address it? Next slide, please. A little bit of background. We did an infiltration and inflow study back in 2024, and it was finalized in 2025. And what that is we are looking at two different sources of non-wastewater entering the system. Infiltration is one of them, and that's groundwater seeping into our pipes. Or manholes, and that's through failures of our system, cracks, joints, separations, things like that. Then you have inflow, and that is categorized more about more with rainfall specifically, and that's looking at stormwater infiltrating, inflowing into our systems through. It could be as simple as a clean out cap that's missing from your private sewer lateral, or in some cases you have improper plumbing where you have a rainwater leader, your downspouts that are tied into the sanitary sewer system rather than your storm drain outlet. Next slide, please. So what did the study reveal? The INI study revealed that there was a noticeable amount of inflow and infiltration, and again, not surprised given the age. Although this picture looks really awful, I will say that's a tree root. That's in one of the conveyance systems. But these are the types of things that we find, and even though there's two things with this photo, right? It's a potential blockage point if you've got a lot of flow coming through. But also because it's broken into the pipe itself. When there is a rain event, water can find its way into the system pretty easily, just following the tree root itself. And so, we targeted specific areas. We look at Brisbane as 5 distinct gravity basins, and they're geographically located. And we focused our study on the critical areas where we had the oldest pipe network. And again, this does put strain on our overall system. It's not a capacity-related issue, but it is a cost issue. Next slide, please. Again, so just a little bit more details as far as how this affects our community and our operations. There is with high INI, there's potential for sanitary sewer overflows because again, like the tree root you saw, there's a blockage. You get flow, you get something that starts bottling up, and then you start having backups, and that could be released and spilled out of the system. And then there's concerns with that release of that materials. Obviously, there's a public health component to this, where you could have some nuisance gases in some places with faulty plumbing, as well as the overflows that could ultimately reach local water bodies. That's obviously a concern for us, whether it's through storm drain or making its way to the gutter, different types of systems. And then there's obviously the environmental impact that causes as well, with potential soil contamination, with pipes that have leaks that have that remain unimproved. And so to remedy these issues that we found in the INI study, we are looking at doing smoke testing, and that really helps us really focus and identify specific locations of that infiltration and inflow. Next slide, please. My apologies. We were trying to see if we tried to embed a video. This was a little 45-second clip, but it's not able to play. There was no sound with it, but I will share a little bit more detail. So what is smoke testing itself? That device you see, it's basically a little lawnmower generator. And what you do is it has a seal. It comes with a seal that's the size of a manhole. And what these companies do is they place it right on top of a manhole. They pop the lid, they put this device on there, and then they isolate the system. They have these, we call them balloons. They basically put different areas. They isolate the system based on the I&I study that kind of points us to where we should be doing these additional tests. And then we basically watch to see where the smoke comes out. It could be a cracked service lateral. It could be somewhere within the public network. It could be coming out of a roof drain, a gutter. And that, again, will point to where those issues are actually coming from. And so with the smoke that is utilized is a non-toxic white smoke that goes through, again, our system. This is one of the leading ways to identify it. It seems really simple, but it is one of the fastest ways to identify major issues. And there's been times where I've done this in other jurisdictions, and I've seen a variety of different ways that the smokes come out. The most common and simple solution is the cleanouts. A lot of times, these things get kicked over. They degrade over time, and it's a relatively simple fix. About $30 to $40 for a new clean out cap. You put that on there, and that takes care of a lot of it. But again, we will do this work, and it takes the guesswork out of where those problems are, and you're not chasing it. I also want to mention that the smoke itself, as I mentioned, non-toxic. It is a vegetable oil based smoke. It is very similar to theatrical smoke that you would find at a fog machine. So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. I understand there is the concern with that. With any type of smoke and particulates. So we wanted to do a lot of outreach, and we've done quite a bit. Next slide, please. Here's, again, this is another graphic that just kind of shows the potential when we're doing this activity, where you can kind of see the smoke coming up through cracks, percolating through the street section itself. And that's a pretty common way to find these defects. What can people expect to see when we're doing this work? It's actually a relatively quick operation for the 40% of our network that we're planning to smoke test in late June. It's about a week's worth of work. So what people can expect to see out in the public rights of way are field crews observing these types of activities. We'll be documenting specific situations. We have little landscape flags that we'll put in certain spots. The contractor will be taking photographs, and that they will compile a report for the staff to take a closer look. As well, you can also anticipate some traffic control. So we would have additional signage that would be put up, alerting motorists of folks working in the roadway. That'll be managed by the contractor, and we're going to be ensuring safe work zones with public works staff as well on site, especially in critical locations. One of the spots that we'll be doing is the 5 Points intersection. So obviously there we want to make sure that we do it in a way that it's that the crew's safe, that people know where they're navigating as they try to traverse it, while maintaining as much traffic lanes as possible. And then on top of that, we've been doing a lot of, we will also be seeing the signage that I mentioned. So they'll be positioned in appropriate locations for that, for the day of activities. Next slide, please. I will just briefly go over it, but it's really more about the map. I think that's more important. The words on the left I've kind of mentioned a little bit, but on the right, when you look at that map, the network of central Brisbane, this is the area that we're really focusing on for the smoke testing as part of this current round. The colored sections are the ones that we're going to be doing as part of this test. And again, those were based on the I&I study that identified these as aging infrastructure, as well as the high potential for the types of issues that smoke testing would identify. Next slide, please. Outreach, this was really important for us. It's something, this is something that the city of Brisbane has not undertaken. I believe that the city tried to undertake smoke testing once upon a time, about 30 years ago. There was a lot of concerns with this. I don't think there was a lot of outreach at the time. So when that started moving forward, it was there was a little bit of pushback. And at that time, with technology, I can't say what the specifics were, but obviously we wanted to get ahead of it. So we've done quite a bit of outreach already. We've been at the farmers market. We've been tabling the farmers market with some information and sharing that what to expect when this is happening, why we're doing it. We've done a lot of outreach with our social media, the Blast, the Star, and a lot of different things to make sure that the community is aware that this is something that we're doing. We don't want to surprise anybody. That's our goal. What we have coming up is a meeting, and I apologize, there was a typo on the time in the staff report. The next, we will be doing a demonstration next week on May 14th at the Brisbane Library at 5:30 to 7:30, where we will have the equipment there and show folks what it really looks like. We are also working, we don't have a specific date, but we're working to do some outreach with our senior center later in May. And then as well as that, we've done some outreach with our business community, and the best, we decided the best way with feedback from our city manager's office and our economic folks was to put some informational signage out along visitation in some of our business areas to give them an opportunity to understand what we're going to be doing and reach out to us if they have any questions. And then this is our flyer that we put out about a week and a half ago for folks if they want to come and get more information or join us at the library on Thursday, May 14th at 5:30. Next slide, please. Okay, and then as far as next steps, so what are we going to do after this? So after they do the smoke testing, we'll get a report. Let me take a step back. As we're doing the smoke testing, another component that I failed to mention was that we will also be providing direct notices to those areas that are going to be impacted by the smoke testing. We've done a lot of broad outreach, but as we get closer to those specific streets, we will notify folks on those blocks of the dates and times that they will be, they could potentially see us out there. The reason is because if there is a faulty connection from a private home or a business, it could, there is a possibility where smoke could come up through a sink or through a gutter, depending on the situation. Most of the time, when you see it inside the house or inside of a business from a sink or something, it's very common to happen in sinks that are unused. I've seen it happen in garages where people have utility sinks because if you don't use it much, the P-trap dries out. And as long as there's water in the P-trap, that usually contains the smoke from coming up through your sink. So what we have told folks is with the outreach material would be, if that happens, one, call us, notify us, and two, usually if you just run water, that fills up the P-trap and it will stop that. So again, outreach is really important for us. So once we go through this exercise, once we do all these the smoke testing, the ultimate result would be a report that would identify specific locations, and then we would go. The next step would be to identify and prioritize those areas. Some of the areas are critical, and we would want to take care of depending on the severity. Some of them would be on a more long-term capital planning perspective. And then if we have situations where it's a private system that has an issue, we would inform and support the residents and businesses in those situations to help them resolve those concerns and address those issues. I think that's it for me as far as the presentation. Thank you so much. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Moss. It's unfortunate the company that does this doesn't refer to it as fog testing. That's mentioned in the staff report, and I think it helps alleviate the concerns over smoke, but thank you. Council questions, let's start with Councilmember Kern.
Maz, it is impossible for me to work with you and not learn something, so thank you so much for that always. So you showed a picture of a gutter that was like attached to some sort of catch where the water would be coming off of a roof, and that's not the appropriate place for that water to be going. How will you see that when you're smoke testing? So you can't possibly keep an eye on every house in the neighborhood.
So that's exactly what they're going to be doing. So that's why we isolate it and we do small sections. And so it's not that they come in one day and they set up that one day and then they run it. That one day they're actually going to be hitting multiple streets. And what we do is we isolate each of those locations and we do block by block, and with the intent of documenting every location that we see.
Makes sense. You mentioned the age of the pipes, and you were going through the 1980s. I know that construction started out on Sierra Point in like 1982 or so. Are you looking at the infrastructure at Sierra Point as well?
Not as part of this round. It is on our list for future rounds. What we like to do is maybe not every year, but every couple of years, look at other locations of our system. And the rationale behind where we chose to do it was because these were the highest priorities. Sierra Point, although it is in the 1980s, the I&I study did not find it at the same level of concern as Central Brisbane that we're going to be focusing on.
Great. Thank you so much, Mas.
Okay. Councilmember Lenz?
Yeah, similar question to Councilmember Kern. Obviously, Central Brisbane is area of concern with all the old infrastructure. But Crocker Park has been around for a while. And so have we ever done one of these tests? And are we going to have one anytime soon?
We have not in Crocker Park, but I agree that's another location that we should be taking a closer look at. I will say that there are multiple ways. Smoke testing is one way of doing it. We have done closed circuit television, so cameraing of our systems. That is something that we've been doing ongoing. So what we're going to do is a combination of CCTV work as well as smoke testing, and this will be a program that we're going to do long term. That was basically the I&I study. The recommendation was that we put a program together so that we take a closer look at all of our basins as we move forward. But again, as I mentioned, we wanted to focus on the most critical first, and then moving forward, we will be looking at Sierra Point, Crocker Park, and the other areas.
All right, because it seems from what you're saying is that the intrusion is mostly from trees, correct? Or are there other?
It's a combination. It could be a tree root. It could be an improper connection from a rainwater leader. It could sometimes you can have an area drain where in a garage and or outside where it's kind of where rain can get to it. A lot of times for garbage dumpsters, for example, refuse areas, that's the reason why you want to have it covered, because you do want to capture some of that, anything that spills out. You don't want that going into your stormwater system. But a lot of times you'll see, if we have an area drain that goes into the sewer, we want to also make sure they have a roof over it so they're not just letting water run into it. So it is a combination of things. I wanted to share a couple of pictures and images of what some common themes are, but it's to be seen what it is. Could also be from just broken pipes, even if there's no root system intrusion. Having a cracked pipe and high groundwater table would lead to the same.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
No questions, thanks.
Okay. And Councilmember O'Connell?
So when you're in the residential areas and you're doing this at the street, there could be a bank of houses with shared sewer lines going up the hillside or across the lawn, or however you want to put it. Are we going to be seeing if there's cracks in those shared sewer lines that go between the blocks? Are they going to be able to see stuff coming out of the woodlands?
Potentially, and that's why in those areas our utility team is working really closely with the contractor. So it's not just in the 5 points intersection, but also in those areas where you have infrastructure that are between homes or in the backs of areas. We are not planning on actually going onto anybody's property. We would, if we see something, we'll document it from the public right of way. We may go and I think we've talked to our staff as well as our contractor to knock on the door if it's a resident that there's a situation in their backyard. But again, we would take those case by case basis. But the intent is to try to capture and document any circumstance of smoke that's visibly coming out of any defect.
And so smoke that's detectable, is that going to be a certain size of leak? I mean, if it's just a tiny wisp, you're probably not going to see it, especially if it's a windy day. And does wind have any play in this on when you can do it?
It can. No, that's true. I mean, the environment could impact our ability to read some of that information, get some of that data. But I think for us, if we get some of those winces, part of it is making sure that we document as much as we can. There's also follow-ups. So what I'd like to propose in moving forward is that we have this on a cycle where we come back and try to look at every area every 5 to 10 years, as well as supplementing it with CCTV. It seems like a lot of cost, but overall, this pays for itself if we can reduce the cost of treating non-wastewater.
Great, thank you very much.
Maz, the photographs were very interesting and also a little frightening at the same time. Just out of curiosity, so within central Brisbane, we have a lot of very old pipes, sewer laterals. Would it be feasible? You showed the one photograph shows cracked pavement with smoke coming up. Could you potentially, would that make its way through dirt, through grass or vegetation?
It does. The machine has enough pressure to actually push it out. Yes.
Okay, so the public might just see this smoke fog coming up out of the ground.
Correct. And that's why it was really important for us to do as much outreach as we did. That's why we've chosen to go and do this community meeting next week, and why we will be also following up with door hangers as we approach the date for the actual work.
Okay, and just curiosity, because I know you were asked about cracks, leaks, et cetera. Do we have ground settlement issues?
Yes. I mean, I think I would say any jurisdiction has levels of varying ground settlement issues. For us, obviously, when you get to Sierra Point and the fill, those are the areas that we see it. It's much more pronounced. But yeah, there are other issues there. If there's a settlement issue that has created a joint separation in a pipe, this would also be another way for us to identify it. Although those are usually captured really quickly with backups as well as with the closed circuit television work that we've done. Because the camera won't go through it. The smoke testing kind of picks up things that is really hard to see on camera.
Yeah, I'm asking because San Bruno Avenue, with last so many years, the number of cracks and everything and the way the land is settling there, it's really pretty interesting to see what's going on. And I always wonder what's going on underground. I'm about to find out. By the way, does the San Francisco Water Department check their Hetchy mains that run underground through Brisbane? Do we know? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah.
I hope they do something similar, because they have one decommissioned line under San Bruno as well.
Well, for the transmission, the wastewater transmission line, they do CCTV work. That's pretty straightforward and pretty. Those are pretty large pipes. They don't do that on potable water systems. This is not something that we utilize on that. Usually it's you find with water systems, because of the nature of that utility, when you would actually see higher losses
Okay.
for water metering.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Mayor, not at this time.
Okay. And any council discussion? Councilmember Kern, Mayor Pro Tem Davis? No? Councilmember O'Connell?
Nope.
Councilmember Lentz? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate this
Thank you.
discussion and presentation. All right, moving along. Item X, receive local hazard mitigation planning update. Staff report, please.
I do have a presentation if Angel could please put it up. Thanks. I'll go ahead and start. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Christina Fernandez, your Assistant City Manager. I'm here tonight to introduce the 2026 draft Local Hazard Mitigation Plan.
As you may know, the plan is a multi-jurisdictional study that identifies hazards and mitigation measures, and it's led by the county. Next slide. First, a huge thanks to the planning team. This team provided data and surveys about the city and the hazards in the city, from which the county and their consultants used in their formulas in order to write this plan. Next slide. So, as I mentioned earlier, the plan evaluates potential hazards and vulnerabilities in the city. It outlines potential mitigation measures that we can take. It's a multi-jurisdictional effort led by the county, and all of the 20 cities participate. And a big reason that we all agreed to participate is because then we are eligible for additional state and federal funding. It's also updated every 5 years, so the last time we did this was in 2021. Next slide. So just some key components of the plan. There are 2 volumes. It's a pretty big plan. The first volume is really, it applies to the entire county. And the second volume has every city's annex or every city's specific plan respective to their city. So that's where our focus is really on tonight, is really on the draft annex. And let's see, the meat and potatoes of this plan is the hazard risk ranking and the mitigation actions, which we'll go into further detail. Next slide. So just a little bit about the plan development. Staff participated in a county kickoff. They invited all the cities and special districts to participate. Staff then went to a workshop and provided data and surveys specifically about the hazards and the plans that we have existing in Brisbane. We then provided that to the county and their consultants. They then provided us with a draft report, which we then took and we basically modified it and edited it to our liking. And we're here where the star is at. We're bringing this draft report to you all for your comments. We're going to incorporate your comments that we hear tonight, and we're going to provide that to the county, and then they will then provide that to their consultants to make those adjustments. But I will say that it is formulaic, such that a lot of the hazards that are identified are really based on formulas that were done based on the surveys that we provided. After that, they'll kick off a public engagement session for the month of May. It'll come back to you all for adoption later on in the year. I want to say June, July. And then it will go to the Board of Supervisors for their adoption and publication. Next slide. So in looking at the hazards, again, this was really something that came out of the formula. I put our top 10 hazards on that slide. The first 3 are our highest ranked, highest risk hazards. Urban flash flooding, heavy rainfall, earthquake, those were our top 3. And that really is based on a formula of probability, extent of hazard, vulnerability, and impacts. Next slide. Implementation. So again, this is a plan that was, updated. The last time it was updated was 2021. We had 18 mitigation measures. We've added one since then, but we've also completed one. So, those measures basically fall into these buckets, which is planning, tactical work, collaboration, and policy. So in planning work, that examples of that could be developing post-disaster recovery plans and a debris management plan. That is listed as one of our action items. Another thing is institutionalizing comprehensive training programs. That's also a piece of that. And looking at tactical things that we can do as a city, looking at relocating structures that are located in high hazard areas or retrofitting them to meet those hazards. We're also looking at backup generators or microgrids to power our city's EOC during a disaster. Definitely something that we are looking at. Collaboration includes implementing this plan and continuing to work with our mutual aid partners. And policy examples include, strengthening our building codes to make sure that they are the latest and greatest as it relates to the IBC standards. Next slide. So what does adoption mean? It means that we're eligible for state and federal funding. We'll continue to collaborate with the county and with the 19 other cities on this plan. We've identified local hazards and mitigation measures, which is great. And we'll integrate this plan into existing emergency planning efforts. What it doesn't mean is it doesn't mean that this does not preclude us from bringing forward new mitigation measures. So council's definitely welcome to provide us with any suggestions that you would like separate and apart from this plan. We'd be more than happy to take that. And it does not mean that we cannot, meet emerging threats. Like if there's a new threat or a new hazard that pops up, we can definitely deal with it when it comes our way. Next slide. Just some next steps. We'll take your feedback and incorporate that into the draft plan. We'll then provide that to the county, and they will then do some public engagement. We've already started to do some public engagement around this, so we've put it in the blast and we put it in the star. The county essentially was asking folks if they wanted to do, provide, if they had a comment or a mitigation measure that they wanted to propose, the public was welcome to provide that. So the county has all of that on their end. We'll then bring this back to council for adoption, and then the county will take this to the Board of Supervisors for their adoption and publication. And then staff will then begin to continue to work on this and implement the mitigation measures. Next slide. And that's all I have. I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that report. Councilmember O'Connell, do you have any questions?
On page 4 of your report, or 337 and 415, in almost the last paragraph, just above the table 2 paragraph, you talk about the Quarry Innovation Center, and it makes this project look like a done deal and the use.
Okay.
Is that something we're putting in to be proactive at this point?
I will say that this builds upon the 2021 plan. So some of this stuff is carryover from 2021. But that being said, we did try to update it to reflect sort of what was, proposed for the future. I can definitely work to massage the language such that it doesn't appear to be such a done deal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
No questions. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Lentz?
Yeah, just thank you, Christina, for the great report. Appreciate it.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
All right, Councilmember Kern?
Thank you, Christina. A very enjoyable report on a very unenjoyable topic to read, but I really appreciated the way everything was weighted, sorted out, and prioritized. This is so thorough and just perfect. Your timeline is super aggressive. You have about 165 days, business days, before the end of the year, assuming this is all due on December 31st. I don't know what day in December it's due. You feel like you can have all this done and follow that timeline that you put up there just now and get the federal and state approval by that date?
So this was a timeline that we were provided by the county and their consultants.
Okay.
So I trust that they're going to be able to get it done.
Okay.
That being said, I agree with you. It is pretty aggressive.
Great.
Yep.
Just a couple sections in the report, some really quick things here. I'm on page 375 of 415. The mitigation action is a permanent local fuel supply and delivery system. Do we have anything along those lines in place today?
Not that I'm aware of. And this was a mitigation measure that was carried over from 2021. If Moss is still here, if he may, if we have any plans on, or if that's in the works at all in Public Works.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
To establish a permanent local fuel supply and delivery system to help with first responders.
Oh, got it. Yeah, no, we're still, that's still under consideration. I think we have there's a capital project that was formulated, but that'll be something we'll definitely consider as part of our upcoming CIP update.
Got it. Thank you. This one is just my sheer ignorance because I didn't understand the solution. It's on page 376 of 415. Design and build a new ingress and egress intersection at Glen Park and Humboldt Road.
So it's my understanding that, again, this was also a mitigation measure that was carried over from 2021. And my understanding is that this was really just to provide capacity for first responders to get up there.
change of the road. Okay.
Right.
And then my last one here, and this is just more of a comment that I would like to have carried forward. And this is on page 380 of 415 regarding the San Mateo County Flood and Sea Level Rise Resiliency District 1 Shoreline Strategies. I just want to make sure that we're working so closely and we're in lockstep with San Francisco and South San Francisco regarding the flooding and any measures that we put in place. Obviously, if we put up a seawall and they don't, the spillover just comes into Brisbane anyhow. And it wasn't specifically called out here. It's pretty obvious, but it just wasn't in here. So I just wanted to call that out.
And I appreciate that. I think as we go along with other jurisdictions that are along the bay, as it relates to the RSAP and the state mandate that BCDC has put out there, I think there's going to be a lot more collaboration and thankfully, more funding for that work.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. Again, fantastic report.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I forgot one question.
Sure, go ahead.
On page 345 of 415, the very bottom thing is open space acquisition funding programs. Don't we have that? Don't we have the ability, because it just asks if we have it in the general plan, and we have used money for open space acquisition. So I would assume we're still open to that.
If I may, we actually went back and forth on whether to say yes or no here, just related to the Brisbane Acres program, and how to indicate that and show that. And I think where we sort of ended up was is there something a little more dedicated to like a specific pot of money? And we tend to pull those funds out of the general fund. I don't know if you have anything to add.
That was my understanding as well, is that we don't have a dedicated fund specifically for acquisition. That being said, I can definitely change this and include some verbiage around it.
Only because it says capability, and in black print that maybe you can read that's over the dark blue, accessible or eligible to use.
Okay.
And I think that's a technicality that I think that as a mitigation measure for a hazard, we would be able to use those funds in that case. So that would just be my thought.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I guess that was more discussion than question, but.
Thank you, Christine. I have two questions. One on the list of significant hazard past events. Is that still able to be edited? Because I think there's a couple events that are missed that I could meet with you and then you could investigate whether they should be included on this list.
Yes, that would be fantastic. I will say, because the county has such an aggressive timeline, they wanted us to incorporate comments tonight and provide them with information tomorrow.
Want me to call you tomorrow morning?
Yeah, that would be
Okay,
great.
I could do that.
Sorry about that.
And then let's go back to, if we're looking at potential hazards, did you at all consider, prior to any development, Baylands, just looking at it the way it is today, the potential for a problem with hazardous substances, in that there could be potential flooding out there in a large storm event? We haven't seen that, but with subsidence and groundwater incursion, that could happen, which would require potentially hazmat response. Had you considered that? You might want to contact, I hate to say it, DTSC.
Okay. We can definitely, yes, I mean, we could definitely look. We looked at things that were natural hazards that were, due to severe weather. A lot of the hazards are due to severe weather. So if you mean as a result of severe weather or inundation and flooding, we're basically looking at it as, this is more of a document that speaks to hazard mitigation as it relates to natural causes, and not so much a sustainability document. Like, there's a lot around sustainability, and I can see how there's some overlap, but it really is about, natural hazards.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but happy to look more into that and, add some verbiage in there.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That's actually all I have. City Clerk, any public comments on this?
None, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Council discussion? Anyone?
I think we should move to approve the work we're planned so far.
And again, is this, City Attorney, is this a vote? I think it's just accepting
Just
the
receive it.
report. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great report.
It is a great
Yeah, I
report.
mean, it's very thorough and just lays it out yeah, it covers all the bases.
Yeah. Councilmember Kern?
Report accepted. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem? Okay. Looks like that's it. Thank you very much. And I did enjoy reading the report as well, so it's an interesting read. Very informative. Thank you. All right, moving along, we have item Y. This is discuss Public Art Advisory Committee membership composition and consider adopting a resolution to amend the Public Art Implementation Guidelines. Could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. As you know, the Public Art Advisory, the Brisbane Art in Public Places Program Ordinance was created in 2014. Guidelines to that were last amended in 2021. And there's been a functional committee, the Public Art Advisory Committee, based off those guidelines. Recently, the City Council interviewed potential members for this body. And during that discussion, the council discussed whether or not the body should be set at 5 members or 7, and ultimately what came out of the vote was 5 appointees that would meet 5 members of the committee. We have subsequently had withdrawal of one of those folks to be a member of the committee. What we wanted to do tonight was if it was the pleasure of the council to memorialize their discussion and create a body that has 5 to 7 members. We put in the packet a resolution that would get us to that place. So we wanted to set up the discussion tonight for the council to have that discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay. Council questions. Let's start with Councilmember Davis.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Councilmember Lentz?
Just to clarify, the only thing that we're being asked to do is to go from the structure that was in place prior, which called out for 7 members, to now have a structure that is consistent with the other committees and commissions, except for the Planning Commission, which is 5 to 7.
The Planning Commission's 5, but correct.
Yes, except for the Planning Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
Let's see. Councilmember Kern?
No questions.
Councilmember O'Connell?
No questions.
Okay, I have no questions either. Do we have any public comment? I have a slip here. Michael Barnes. Come on up, Michael.
Good evening. My name is Michael Barnes. I'm a Brisbane resident. The staff report states the City Council enacted the Public Art Implementation Guidelines to promote community participation. You had 4 public vacancies on the Public Art Advisory Committee until item U this evening. More than 4 members of the public applied for these vacancies, and at least 4 were qualified. 3 had previously served on the Public Arts Committee, and 1 is the father of the 1% for Arts program in Brisbane. You did not appoint him or any of the others with Public Arts Committee experience. This seems to be working at odds to the idea that the Public Arts Guidelines should promote community participation. I've spoken many times on the topic of the council not following your processes. This is the 3rd time that the Public Arts Guidelines have been changed by the City Council. You are making tonight's changes because you could not follow the 8-month-old revision to the guidelines that called for appointing 4 members of the public to the Public Art Committee. Previously, the council abandoned the original Public Art Guidelines due to Park and Rec Commission input. You then changed the guidelines to remove the Park and Rec Commission consultation, again removing public participation. The Public Art Guidelines also govern the management of public arts funds. Since you don't follow the guidelines, I'm concerned that the public arts money may be misspent. Tonight, you established that you have an accounting problem. There should be a publicly accessible accounting of public arts funds online with to-the-penny accounting of what arts money is spent on. To assure accountability in all its forms, the city should make the Public Arts Guidelines part of the municipal code. This would give the Public Arts Guidelines the force of law and require you to follow your guidelines and ensure that the public arts funds are spent according to the law. And I realized when I was watching online that I only had 2 minutes tonight, but if you don't indulge me for one more minute, Madam Mayor?
If I do that for you, I have to do that for everybody.
There's
So
no one
thank
else
you.
here.
I-
There is
I'm
no
sorry.
one else here.
I'm sorry, it was already announced. Thank you.
But you have the power to allow me to speak.
No, and we're trying to be consistent. Thank you. All right. Council discussion. Want to start? Councilmember Lentz?
To me, it makes sense to go 5 to 7, so I'm good with that.
Okay. Councilmember O'Connell?
So I did serve on this committee as a council representative, and I believe that the Public Art Committee deserves to have more input than 5 people. I think it is something that is a very collaborative approach. When you look at a piece of art, you may be looking at it with 7 points of view versus 5, and I think you get more diversity by having that in the structure. We just changed these guidelines, and it was a personality conflict, and I'll be very candid about that. This was a personality conflict that happened in this meeting, and I was appalled that this happened, and that we brought up changing the structure in a meeting that was not agendized. And I think that was wrong. I think this should be open for more public debate if we are thinking of changing the guidelines. But I think it should remain as 7 people. It's a lot of work. And this committee, besides looking at specific pieces of or conceptual ideas of art, they also then go out to the public. And then once that's been weighed, they come back and they do the technical work of the RFP and working with the artist to come up with something that's suitable. It's a lot of work. I think it deserves more minds than 5 people. And I think that we should retain the 7-member committee.
Okay. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you for the input on that. I think that that's something really to think about. I feel that we've got our Complete Streets Committee and our Idea Committee, and I don't understand why we would have different membership, quote-unquote, bylaws by committee. I think all committees should adhere to the same membership bylaws. So I think I'm supporting having a 5 to 7 member range for this committee.
Okay. And Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Well, I think it's important to state for the record that I was not involved in the interview process for public art because I had a family member apply. So I was not in the room for that discussion, but I know Councilmember O'Connell asked the committee what they preferred. They prefer 7. That's what they told you, right?
Totally correct.
So from serving on this committee since its inception, I'll say that it is every single meeting there's an absence from somebody. In the summer, it ramps up a lot. And there is a resistance that I've noticed on the committee to serve as chair. There are several members that don't want to be in that role. So having 7 members, I think, distributes the work more. I would think that it would be very likely that you would get meetings with 3 people. And I don't think that having just 3 people weigh in on a project, especially, now that you're removing council members from the conversation and removing park and rec commissioners from the conversation, you're really isolating that down to just a few voices. So I just, based on their feedback, and understanding issues that this committee struggles with. And it's different. I mean, we want to talk about consistency, but it's a totally different dynamic of a committee. They meet in just the conference room. They're not televised. They don't meet here in this format where it feels so much more formal. And maybe if it was like this, our attendance might be a little bit better, but I'm in favor of keeping it at 7. I think that, that's what the committee prefers. I think that's what does that committee justice. I was disappointed to see that the council preferred to not appoint anyone who applied with prior experience. I think that was, I think, a loss to the committee. And again, I wasn't in the room, so I didn't hear the conversation, but it was very surprising to me that decision was made. So I think that we need to open it up for, open it up for another recruitment, and I would say three people. And it's likely that for several meetings there may only be 5 people there, but any less than 5, it's not good government, and that's going to happen.
If I may, one of the other issues with the attendance is that because this committee meets on a Monday, it has a lot of problems with being overscheduled. So we've been having some meetings on Mondays. That takes, they can't meet on their regular day because we've taken over their date. When there's a holiday, they can't meet. So all of a sudden, instead of the 3rd Monday of the month, they're changing it to some rando Wednesday or Thursday or a Tuesday. And nobody can plan their life around that.
And then people can't attend.
And then they can't attend because they've already planned their life around having a specific meeting date. And they just get bumped. And they get bumped most of the time because of a holiday or a conflict with the room, with staff's conflict. Or they get bumped because 3 members are on vacation that week. So, and I'm not calling out those members because most of these projects are not necessarily time specific on every meeting having a firm decision and a vote on things. More often than not, it's getting recommendations, input, project process, project progress reports. And, because they have tried, and I think very successfully with the STAIR project, worked with Public Works. They've worked with other funding mechanisms to achieve a goal that is not just art, but also functional. And they'd be able to commingle those funds. But that means bringing in someone from Public Works to attend that meeting when they're discussing those things. And so it increases the complexity of a project when you're trying to utilize more than one thing. But that's my opinion. I'm not on that committee anymore. And what was really upsetting to me in that discussion was the idea that anyone who has served on a committee in the former sense, or anyone who's been on the council, or married to a council, or family of a council member should never serve on a committee. And I think that's wrong.
I will say, to follow up, I would say about 30% of the meetings are rescheduled. From my history of being on the committee, I mean, even if somebody, it's to the point where someone will say, oh, I can't be here next meeting. And then everyone will pull out their calendars to pick a new date. And I started saying to staff, listen, we just have to have the meetings on the date they're supposed to happen. And if people can't make it, they can't make it. And they just won't be there. Instead of always trying to shift because someone's going to be gone. But it's a struggle.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, if I could, please.
Okay.
So I think it's always difficult when council does not find themselves in agreement. And people have strong emotions and strong opinions. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, you were not at the meeting. I was at the meeting. It was a fair vote. And when the council can't agree on something, we end up in the situation that we did with the vote. I don't know how we can say this one's right, this one's wrong. We're all entitled to our opinions. And it's not about being right, it's about what we believe is the best thing. And so there are times we're going to find we're in disagreement. As far as some of the logistics you're discussing, that's not the issue tonight. That's something that needs to be worked out through the city manager with staff to resolve the logistics problems on meetings. And I think speaking for everybody on the council on this, we always appreciate everyone that applies for a committee. They don't all get appointed. There are various reasons why. Committees and commissioners serve at the pleasure of the council. That's the way it's done. As in terms of how many people, I could see it going either way. We've had situations with committees and commissions where we've had someone resign, sometimes two people resign. We don't always immediately recruit to fill. The committees will sometimes have to operate for several months with limited number of members. It's affected some committees more than others, but they got through it. So really, what this amounts to tonight is you're being given an option of either conducting another recruitment to comply with the current guidelines, or acknowledging there could be an approach, just having a range. And that way, if we have difficulty in agreeing or finding candidates, that the committee could start with 5 and expand to 7. So that's pretty much how I see it. And I could see it going either way. So, Councilmember Kern.
Yeah, my immediate thoughts are on this. Again, I'm just going to restate my position for purposes of restating it. I think congruence is good government. And the way we're treating our other committees, we're not talking about commissions, we're talking about committees. We should have one rule across the board, period, the end. And I feel like that is the appropriate way forward. Number 2, I agree with Mayor Mackin. We're talking about logistics. Folks on complete streets don't take more or less vacations. They don't get more or less illnesses. They don't have fewer or more children. They don't have different commitments. And the same thing with the IDEA Committee. If people can't make a meeting and there's a quorum, the meeting moves forward. So I feel like congruence is our best option at this point. So thank you for allowing me to say that.
Did you say that the planning commission is the bylaws say 5 or it's 527? Okay, so there's not congruence already.
There is congruence because that's a commission, not a committee.
I think of them all the same.
And also, what you said that we have 2 choices. We can either make it 5 to 7, or we can go out to new applications. We only have 4 members.
You have to.
I'm stating the fact. So if I may also, I just want to address that if you really look at all the bylaws, you've got a sample in here, but not all of them. If you look at all the bylaws of all the different committees and commissions, they are not the same. They were not written the same. I brought this up several years ago. I've spoken to the city manager about it. And the reason that I was told is that the resolutions creating the committees were done by different councils over different periods of time. And unfortunately, nobody, when they created something new, said, hey, let's look at the previous one and see how it's done. I've also been told that there are peculiarities to different committees that warrants the fact that there are some differences. And that's a project, I've spoken to the city manager, that it deserves looking at what type of similarities should be the foundation of every committee and commission, something the council could then memorialize. But at this time, they are different. They are different. So, thank you. Councilmember O'Connell. I'm sorry, she was first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I think I spoke my piece. I would make a recommendation, but I think you want to still take more comments.
Okay.
I have a
Councilmember.
question, Madam Mayor. So, Complete Streets and Safety Committee, up until the swearing-in ceremony tonight, how many members did they have? I believe it was 4.
3,
Moz? 4?
4.
Thank you.
4, okay. And then, how long did they go with 4 members?
Since the appointment of the new planning commissioner. So it was about 3 months? 2 or 3 months?
Okay. And then, working with 4, I mean, obviously, it would be great if they had the full capacity, but they seem to have accomplished quite a bit with the members that they have. I mean, they made the presentation. We got that really fabulous update from them. Okay, I'm just trying to, kind of get an understanding here. I mean, what's being asked is 5 to 7, and we could have 7. I know that some council members will want to put out the applications right away. I'm just going to say, part of my decision was I trust the current people who are on that body to do, to sort it out themselves, to work with staff and figure out, okay, what's the right day? How do we, agendize things? And I think we added a new member that will significantly apply herself to helping to build that committee to be its own new committee. We had 2 council members on a committee that, quite frankly, should have been off a long time ago. We've talked about it. In the end, it was a 3-2 vote when we did have that discussion a few years ago. And so
It was not a 3-2 vote when we made that decision right this year.
I'm talking about a few years ago. There was a discussion about when we did the committee, we made some changes, and we did talk about having it be more like the other committees. And we decided, the majority of the council at the time said, let's keep the council members on there. And in the 2 of you and you and Madison, you and Karen did a fabulous job. And it was, you contributed greatly to the committee. And one of the examples of that work was the stairway, and we all celebrated it. But now it's time to put our trust into these committee members and let them be the leaders. Let them, mentor the new folks coming in.
New folk.
No one's arguing.
Excuse me, could we please, one at a time, I will call on you. I don't want to have this descend into crosstalk. Thank you. I would really appreciate that.
And then just lastly, just recognizing our other committees that are out there that do very unique work, and they work it out, and they find a way to bring forth the topics that are important to them. They provide excellent recommendations to the full council that their part and the other committee's parts, it all comes together to provide, really good recommendations for the council to make sound policy decisions. And this body, as it is, I think will be just fine until we have that moment when we decide, okay, let's put out applications again, or because we've never, ever, as far as I've been on the council, where we said, oh, this committee is short, we have to do a snap application process. We've never done that. We've always waited till the end, and I think that would be the appropriate thing, to wait until the end of the cycle and then put out requests for applications like we usually do with the other committees.
Okay, who else would like to go next?
I will.
Okay, Councilmember O'Connell, thank you.
So currently, we have 4 seated members on a committee that's supposed to be 7. So if anyone is absent, we will not have a quorum. Is that correct? I'm seeing
You'll need-
nods, but I'm not hearing any.
You'll need 4 to have a quorum.
You'll need everybody to be
attendance.
there to have a quorum. So in effect, they will be ineffective, possibly.
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
We have 4 seated members on a committee that is supposed to be 7. What will be a quorum?
I agree. If the committee is supposed to be 7, yes, 4 is the quorum. Sorry, I thought it was 5. Yes.
Okay, so at this point, if anyone is absent, they will not be able to conduct their business. And we had qualified applicants. And I think that a lot of what is going on here is the opinion that was given in that meeting that we do not want to have anyone who has served before or who is considered a powerful person or a powerful personality to be on any of our committees and commissions. And I think that is a very sad state that we are in, that we do not want to utilize anyone who has knowledge because we want to give free rein to the new people. And I'm just really disappointed that that was the opinion given in this meeting about some of the applicants. Whether I approved, liked them or not, I think that that's a really bad thing for us to be doing when making these appointments. I think we need to utilize the talent we have in this town and appreciate the talent that is there. And I think that we did a disservice to the community in that meeting by discounting people who had served before in either that capacity or another capacity. And I just think that is, if someone behaved badly or didn't play well with others, that's one thing. It's another just to disregard experience.
I would like to request that we not go into trying to recount conversations in that meeting because our interpretations may be very different.
Yes.
I do not want to cause anyone distress when discussing those applicants tonight.
It was a
Because
public-
really, what we are charged with here is making a decision. And I think that's where we should be focusing our time. Because
it was
we're
a
not
public
going
meeting.
we're not going to resolve differences of opinion here tonight. What we need to resolve is how do we move forward? It's that simple. Can we please focus on how we want to resolve this?
I would like to move forward with keeping the current formation of the committee and to go back out for applications
Me
to
too.
fill the committee.
The committee wants 7. They said
Please,
that they want 7.
please, can we do
I'm
one
done.
at a time and not just crosstalk? Thank you. Councilmember Kern.
I want all committees to be treated the exact same way and have a range of 5 to 7.
Okay.
Okay, so
Mayor
call
Pro
a
Tem.
motion. Make a motion.
Okay. Oh, I do have one quick question. If we did
there's a
go
member
to the
at the-
5 to 7, if there were 3 members, that would be a quorum, correct?
It would depend on how many were actually seated at the time. So the way I read the guidelines is it would allow the council to appoint between 5 and 7. So if the council appoints 5, then 3 would be a quorum. If the council appoints 7, then 4 would be a quorum.
Correct. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You have a member of the public on your screen.
We've already done public comment. We're in discussion.
All right.
So we can entertain a motion to
I'll make a
change-
motion to retain the structure as appointed, as it's written now, with 7 members, and we strive for the 7 members, and to go back out for applications immediately.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
All opposed?
No.
Motion does not pass.
I'll make a motion to move forward with applying a range of 5 to 7 members, like the other committees that we currently have.
Is there a second?
I make a change to that motion
Or so is
with
that,
going out to applications for the 5th, for at least 1 member at
I'd
this
like
time.
to separate it, Terry, because I'm going to vote no on that.
Okay. I'll withdraw my amendment.
Okay, so do we want to restate a motion?
Is Councilmember Lentz's motion to adopt the resolution?
adopt the resolution, yes.
To adopt the
As
resolution.
presented by
Thank you.
staff. Thank you.
Is there a second to the motion? I will second the motion. All in favor?
No.
No.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
3-2. Am I correct?
I would like to.
Carries.
I would like to make a motion to open up recruitment for 1 to 3 spaces on public art.
And I would second that with immediate effect.
That's not agendized, though.
Hold on, please.
Hold on just a second.
Yeah, that's. That's not technically on the agenda. However, I do think it's encompassed by the topic on the agenda, which is to receive an update on recruitment efforts and adopt a resolution. So if council would like to direct staff to do that, that is fine.
Please.
You can do it by motion or not.
So could you restate what the motion is, please?
And is it a motion?
Well, I would like to ask staff to open recruitment, seeking 1 to 3 positions on public art.
And I second that.
Is that going to be contrary to the last motion?
No.
No, the last motion, the resolution allows for recruitment of
5 to 7.
5 to 7 people, and this would allow the committee, which currently has 4, to hit 5 to 7.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right.
So
We've
that's
got a-
just staff direction? I'm just.
No,
sorry,
I
through the
think
chair.
we make a motion.
No, it's staff direction at this point.
It's staff direction either way. It's fine. If the council, since you've got a motion, go ahead and vote on it so the direction is clear to staff.
But I think it should be an immediate appointment is why I think we should vote on it, because Councilmember Lentz was commenting that we should wait for an indefinite period to go out for recruitment again.
Okay, thank you, that clarifies.
Okay, that
That's
helps. Thank
helpful. Okay. All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
No. Motion carries.
Wait, he's
3
an
to 2.
opposed? Are you opposed?
Yeah, no, I am.
Yeah,
Oh,
3
you
to
are
2
opposed, I'm
opposed.
sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you
I'm not in
were
favor of moving forward with it because we've never done that with other committees when they've been, below the maximum.
Well, if I can say, I think that this committee is a little bit different because they are in trust with a whole bunch of city funds and how to utilize them. And even though they don't have the final direction, that does come from this body. I think it's really important to make sure that they have more than 4 people sitting, working for monetizing and utilizing that amount of funds. I think that would be
Okay.
wrong.
So we also have other committees that are below the maximum, and if we're going to do that, we should open it up to the other ones too.
What else is below?
Right, well,
Complete
Complete Streets
Streets.
is missing one, I know
Okay.
that.
Sure.
I agree with that 100%.
Sure.
So City Clerk, you have direction now to commence on recruitment.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
We had a hand raised. Did that just go away?
We are not in public comment.
okay.
We're past public comment. Next item on our agenda is staff reports, city managers report, city updates, and upcoming activities. Your report, please.
Thank you. I'll concentrate on upcoming activities. You heard earlier this evening that on a Saturday from 10 to 2 is the Walk for Mental Health Awareness, as mentioned by the YAC. An item we actually added today to our calendar is a ribbon cutting on the San Bruno Mountain Day Use area. It was an invitation from Supervisor Canepa. That's at 555 Guadalupe Parkway. And again, that will be at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 13th. The saddle area at San Bruno Mountain. We're initiating our second round of Brisbane Cares curb painting. It'll be Thursday on May 14th from 10 to noon, and we'll be doing the curb painting on Visitation, red curb painting. You heard earlier tonight from Moz, the smoke testing community meeting on 5/14 will be 5:30 to 7:30, and I believe that is at the Sunrise Room. Let me confirm that. Excuse me, at the library. That's my final item. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any council members wishing to propose items for future agendas? Councilmember Kern?
Nothing for future agendas, but if I may, Mayor, I'm a little bit confused. We just made a motion. There's two public arts documents in our packet tonight. One about public art implementation guidelines, which has a ton of red lines. We did not even talk about that. We just talked about the members. Am I missing something, Jeremy? Did we skip over something here?
No, you took the appropriate action tonight.
Okay, we didn't have any discussion on this document. Okay, thank you. That's all. I just,
Yeah,
I'm
I
a little
believe the
confused.
red line was provided just as background
Got
on
it,
the
okay.
guideline changes, most recent ones.
Got it, thank you.
Okay.
I have nothing to propose
okay.
for subcommittees.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I would like us to explore an ordinance on data centers if we legally can. Look into it.
We'll certainly look into it.
Okay. And you need two council members. I would concur with you on that. Councilmember Lentz, any items for future agendas?
No.
And Councilmember O'Connell?
No.
Okay. We move on to countywide assignments and subcommittee reports. Any reports? Councilmember O'Connell?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Councilmember Lentz?
Just real brief, I had an emergency council meeting, county meeting, and the main item that was on the agenda was hazmat and how the county is has been a leader in keeping our city safe from various toxic items such as chemicals and fires that from batteries which spew into the air, and that was about it.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Nothing.
Okay. Councilmember Kern?
Nothing here, thank you.
Okay, I had a PCE meeting on the 23rd. We were told about recent meetings PCE had with representatives in Washington, D.C. That was with California legislators, including Mullen, Schiff, and Padilla. Major topic was energy affordability in general. A lot of concerns were expressed regarding the effect of large load data centers. The effect it has on electricity and how that could affect electricity rates nationwide. And PCE also brought up microgrids and small modular nuclear. These are two new topics that are widely being discussed in the energy sector for future consideration. And PCE representatives also lobbied legislators to restore the federal energy tax credit. Another milestone, we were told there were 88 EV chargers installed in a Mercy housing building in Redwood City. This is the largest EV installation to date, one location within the service area of PCE. And finally, we were reminded about the unveiling of PCE's new name and branding it will be on May 13 to become Westlight Energy. That's all I have on that. Let's see here. Do we have any Written communication, City Clerk.
Written communication was received from May on May 17th. List of 17 committed families to enroll to the Brisbane preschool for summer 2026. Date May 3rd. Update, 12 out of 15 committed families ready to enroll to the Brisbane preschool immediately, summer of 2026.
Okay, thank you very.
Also,
Oh, you have
more, please. Lee, abandoned boats in Sierra Point Inlet near Prothena Building, SF Bay Trail. Request action timeline. Kern, distribution to full council. Dennis Smart, goals, strategic planning. We have Dana Dilworth, comments on April 28th. Deanna Washington, Public Arts Commission, and Jefferson Union High School District.
Thank you very much. We move on to oral communications number 2. Any member of the public wishing to make public comment?
Yes, my name is Michael Barnes. I'm a Brisbane resident. One point is that we have 2 commissions. One is the Planning Commission, and the other is Park and Rec. I think one has 5 and one has 5 to 7. So just a point. I'm concerned with the public art master plan language that states the mission for public art in the city of Brisbane is to support community identity, unity, and pride. The only art movement that I know of that sought to mandate identity, unity, and pride of a city or state was socialist realism. It was championed by Joseph Stalin and spread to Eastern Bloc countries, China and North Korea. According to the Tate, socialist realism was characterized by painting in rigorously optimistic pictures, was characterized in painting by rigorously optimistic pictures of Soviet life, and pessimistic or critical elements were banned. It was quite simply propaganda art. There are better descriptions of public art in the master plan. It is the mission statement that I believe is flawed. Now, with all that said, I do enjoy socialist realism. It's not subtle, it hits you over the head, but it's still art. But it's the point that it's state-mandated art that I think is the point here, and that looking for art to give us one identity, give us unity and pride, kind of defeats the point of art and the fact that all art hits people differently. That's all I had. Thank you.
Any other members of the public for public comment?
No more hands raised, Madam Mayor.
All right. That being said, this meeting is adjourned at 9:37 p.m. Thank you.